A? That is the mystery that is to be solved in the show Pretty Little Liars. So if you know anything about this channel, you know that there's an obvious question sitting right here on this table. Can I solve Pretty Little Liars before the reveal?
From the producers of The Vampire
They
Diaries,
found Allison's body.
a new ABC Family original series.
This is no longer a missing persons investigation. It's a murder.
I have never seen this show, and I don't know anything about it. In fact, I didn't even know that there was like a mystery to be solved in this show until I got a comment in my Simpsons Can I Solve Who Shot Mr. Burns video that said, hey, you should try to solve who A is in Pretty Little Liars. So that's what I'm gonna do. This is not a recap of the show Pretty Little Liars. This is me watching the show for the very first time and trying to figure out the big mystery and solve it before the show reveals it. So after every 3 or 4 episodes of the show that I watch, I'm going to jump right back in here in the studio and I'm going to drop all the suspects and the clues and the theories that I have, and I'm going to lock in a guess for who I think is A. And since I'll be locking in my guess every couple episodes all the way throughout the show, we'll be able to look back once we get to the end of this video and we can pinpoint exactly how close or how far off I was from actually getting it right. With all of that out of the way, let's jump into the first episode of Pretty Little Liars.
The Little White Lie. Almost harmless, but never completely innocent. Pretty Little Liars coming soon to MTV.
Okay, so I just finished watching the first episode of Pretty Little Liars, and I'm already in a pretty wild place. So I thought my internet was bad or something because the episode, it kept skipping, jumping. And so I kept rewinding the first 30 seconds over and over and over, trying to see if it would just needed to buffer or something. But I think the show's just like that. But I guess we'll see. The show starts off very quickly. We see this friend group of girls and they're hanging out in a garage or something, some sort of abandoned building. And they're drinking something, and I'm gonna assume it's alcohol, and maybe that's why it's so jumpy. It's because it's whoa, they don't even know what's going on. So they're all drinking something out of some cups, and then 2 seconds later their friend shows up, and then 2 seconds after that they're all asleep, and then 2 seconds after that they wake back up and 2 of their friends are gone. And so the 3 remaining girls who are still there, they run outside, and that's where they see one of their friends, this one, and she's like, she's gone. I looked everywhere for her. I think I heard her scream. It has been a total of 60 seconds into this show, and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I just really hope that this isn't like my Twin Peaks video where halfway through I'm ready to pull my hair out. But you know what? Let's just jump right into this. The friend, this one that was already outside when the other girls woke up and she was like, oh, I think our friend is missing. She's immediately sketchy. The theory that immediately comes to mind is maybe, oh, by the way, this is the girl I think that is missing. She's the one that this friend ran out, was like, I don't know where she's at. It's her. This is who we don't know where she's at. But my theory is she ran away and she got this friend to help her run away. And that's why this friend's being weird and sketchy, because she knows where this friend is. She's the one that helped her run away. Hold on, let me check my notes. Spencer. Her name is Spencer. So I think Spencer helped this person run away and fake her disappearance. But guys, let's not get carried away, because we are not solving what happened to this girl. No, we are trying to solve who A is. So who even is A? Good question. So basically what's going on in this episode is that the 4 remaining friends, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 of them, after their best friend goes missing, wrecks the friendship. It's a year later. And in that last year, they all went their separate ways. They're not friends anymore. And the main character of the show, Aria, she was in Europe for the past year. But now she's back. Side note, how do you just get to go to Europe for a year? What do your parents do? This show is about rich people, by the way. That's a lot of PTO, dog. Oh, speaking of her parents, this is her dad. He cheated on her mom. And Aria knows about it because she saw him in a car with a lady. Guys, this is not a recap of this show. I don't know if you can tell by the way that I have not been doing a good job of explaining what's going on. I am only going to talk about the things that are necessary to try to solve the mystery. But if this was a recap of Pretty Little Liars, I would spend about an hour talking about how this 16-year-old girl walks into a bar, asks for a burger, and then ends up making out with this random guy at 3 in the afternoon in the bar's bathroom. Oh, and guess what? That guy that she was making out with in the bar bathroom at 3 in the afternoon, that's her new English teacher. So we find out. This show is something else, man. I don't know how crazy this is going to get. The second that Aria finds out that makeout boy from the bar is her new English teacher, like she sits down in English class, her new teacher walks in, she's like, oh my God, she gets a text message. And I'm going to read the text message verbatim. I have it written down. It says, Aria, maybe he fools around with students all the time. A lot of teachers do. Just ask your dad. Dash A. So this is our first sign of A. And it seems like whoever A is knows Aria's secret that she knows about her dad, which was that he cheated on her mom. And this text kind of makes it seem like maybe it was a student of his or something like that. I don't quite remember. And Aria sees the text message and she goes, Allison? Now, Allison is this girl. This is the girl that went missing. So it seems like whoever A is either pretending to be or actually is Allison, the missing girl. She's been missing for over a year. Then we meet the next friend in the group, Spencer. Now, Spencer's not making out with a dude at a bar in the bathroom that turns out to be her teacher, but she is doing some pretty crazy stuff. She's flirting with her sister's fiance. Anyway, they both end up in like swimsuits at the same time. And then he ends up like giving her a shoulder massage while they're both like half naked. They're in swimsuits. And then ding, Spencer gets an email. Again, I'm gonna read this verbatim because I feel like it could be important. Poor Spencer. Always want Melissa's boyfriends. But remember, if you kiss, I tell. Dash A. My first question, how is this person seeing all of this stuff? Like, this massage situation took place in her house in the middle of the day when no one else was around. So how does this A person know that that just happened? And they sent the email like right then, like right after it happened. Like, how did they know the timing if they're not watching them? But like, there was no one around. I digress. We meet another friend. This is Emily. Now, Emily meets the girl that is moving in to Allison's old house. They all live like on the same street. And this is the girl that is moving into Allison's old house. Her name is Maya. So she meets Maya. Next thing you know, they're kissing. I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of kissing going on in this show that's about teenage girls. That's a drama. You don't watch teen dramas and then get upset when there's drama within the teens. Oh well, they kiss. Next thing you know, Emily gets a message. Except this time, it's not a text or an email. It's a letter in her locker, her gym locker. Hey, Em, exclamation point. I've been replaced. You've found another friend to kiss. Dash A. Now, I guess this means that at some point, Emily and Allison kissed. But the more important question here is like, how did they get that letter into her locker? Like, you would like have to have the combination. And Spencer is actually in the gym class or the whatever's going on, I think. So maybe it's Spencer. I think they're on the same team of a sport or something. Our fourth and final friend is Hannah. Now, Hannah is shoplifting. Hannah shoplifts some glasses and then she gets arrested for it. And while she's waiting in the police precinct, she gets a text. Be careful, Hannah. I hear prison food makes you fat. Dash A. See, that's what's so interesting, and this is what's kind of getting me really interested in the show, is all of these messages have been about secrets that only Allison knew about. And Allison has been missing for over a year. So now whoever this A person is that is sending these messages seem to only know the secrets that Allison knew. And like these messages, they're like preying on the same insecurities that Allison preyed on when she was around. Like the getting fat thing. Hannah used to be chubby. And we get like a bunch of flashbacks in this episode and we see Allison like really bullying Hannah for her weight. I'm thinking at this point of the episode, okay, Allison's got to be alive, right? She's not actually dead. I had my whole running away theory, like Spencer helped her run away. So my thought process is she's back and she's just like harassing her friends now that she's back. But then you won't believe what happens. They find Allison's body, her dead body, like she's dead. And they find her body under like a gazebo that was like under construction the summer that she went missing. And then the news is going crazy. The news is like, there's a killer at large. We have a funeral. At Allison's funeral, our 4 besties, 1, 2, 3, 4, come back together. And now they're all back together and they realize that each one of them has received a message from A. Next thing you know, a blind girl named Jenna shows up. And for some reason, it's a big deal. I don't know why, but it's a big deal that this blind girl is in attendance. And then after the funeral, a detective walks up to the 4 girls. And he's doing that whole cop thing where he's like, I'm going to find out what happened to her. And I'm going to find out what happened that summer. And the girls, they get really scared. And Arya is like, oh, do you think he knows about? And then they cut her off. And they're like, of course he doesn't. And then they all 4 at the exact same time get a text message. I'm still here, bitches. And I know everything. -A. So let's break this down, shall we? Immediately, this comes across as like a whole I know what you did last summer thing. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's giving me those vibes. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that these 4 girls, our main characters, had something to do with Allison's disappearance. Maybe not her death, maybe her death. But I don't know though, that's just a guess. And I'm also guessing that if I use that logic, then this A person is maybe trying to like harass them or blackmail them into being like, hey, I'm going to reveal what you did to Allison. Or like, they're trying to like, A is trying to like expose them. So my thought process then leads me to believe, well, hey, if A is like trying to expose these 4 girls, then it's probably not one of these 4 girls, right? Because they wouldn't want to be exposed for what they did. So let's look at suspects outside of the 4 main girls. Now, my top suspect is this girl, Mona. Mona is this like super nerdy, weird girl that in some flashbacks when we see, Allison still alive, they're like super mean to her. She's like chasing them and she's like, hey guys, wait. And then like Allison and Arya just like ignore her and like turn the corner and leave her standing there. And she's one of the few characters that like we like really get a moment like that from. So I was like, oh, that's pretty odd. Well, now a year later, Allison's gone and Hannah is now like the top popular girl at school. And who is her sidekick / best friend? Mona. A new and improved Mona, like full makeover, no nerdiness. She doesn't look weird and nerdy like she did. She's real mean girl now. My theory is Mona, victimized by the popular girls, got revenge, and now she's popular. And I'm basing this a lot of just like television tropes and like storytelling tropes where it's just kind of like, the bullied person gets revenge on the popular people. We've seen it a million times. But I do have like a few pieces of evidence, nothing concrete, just things that happen in this first episode that makes me go, okay, this theory could work. The first is the message that was sent to Arya the second that she saw her new English teacher. It was literally the second. So I'm guessing, okay, whoever A is must be in this class. And to be fair, like all of the main girls are in this class, but so is Mona. And like when we see Arya receive the message right before, we see Mona like bent down in her backpack. So it's like, oh, maybe that was her sending the text. So when Hannah gets arrested, like right before the cops knock on the door to arrest her, her phone dings. And Hannah's mom is like, oh my gosh, is that Mona again? You know how moms are. But Hannah doesn't look at the message. And then, very shortly after cops knock at the door, arrest her. She's at the police station. She finally looks at her phone because it buzzes again or whatever, and it's the message from A. And so I thought, just from like a writing standpoint, it would be a fun little tease if when her mom was like, oh my gosh, is that Mona again? And she was like, no, mom. But then she looks and it was A, and it was like, actually, it was Mona again. That's a fun... Okay, maybe that one doesn't really work. And the last thing I kind of have to go off of is we get like a little glimpse of a blonde girl after one of the messages is sent. And all of the girls, when they see that like hint of a blonde girl, they think that it's Allison, their friend who went missing. I'm gonna keep reiterating that until we've got that understood. But my theory is whoever A is probably dressing up like Allison because they're trying to be Allison, right? So maybe they've got on like a blonde wig. And that makes me think like this whole A thing is about more than just trying to expose these girls or, harassing them or bullying them. This is about becoming Allison. A is saying the same things that she used to say, picking on the same insecurities that she used to pick on. They want to look like Allison. They want to be Allison. And who do we know that got a makeover and is now like, Queen Bee with Hannah? Mona. Well, but now that I say that, Hannah also got a makeover and became the most popular girl in the school. And she's blonde. She doesn't even need a wig. Or maybe she got her hair dyed to look more like Allison. I've got other theories because I know that's not great. My other theory is that maybe it's a ghost. Now, I know what you're saying, Chase, this is a teen drama. But the theme song of this show feels very different from the rest of the show. Like, it feels very supernaturally. It has a different vibe. It has a different tone. And it's just very, like, spooky. And so my thought process is maybe this show takes a turn and it becomes more supernaturally and, like, not horror, but, like, CW horror. And then I also do suspect Hannah. I know we just said that thing about, like, she could become her. But also, there's some evidence to back up Hannah being A as well. So when we get that flashback where Allison is talking to Spencer about because Spencer was making out with her sister's old boyfriend, Allison knew about that and was like having a conversation with Spencer about it, and Hannah was like right over there. And so, like, it's kind of played like she didn't hear them, but, like, maybe she overheard it. And then that would explain how A would know about that secret that only Allison knew about because Hannah overheard it. And then my final theory, it's probably a bit out there, but it could be a really cool reveal, is Allison's not actually dead. But Chase, they found her body. We don't actually see the body, and it's a closed casket at the funeral. And so it's like, okay, well, why would you do a closed casket? In the terms of TV production, right? It's like, oh, well, we couldn't get the actor that played Allison. And it's like, but she's like all over this episode in tons of flashbacks. You couldn't get her for one more scene to lay down in the coffin? But then it's like, okay, logically, in the terms of the show, her body was probably pretty messed up after being in the elements for over a year. So, closed casket. But that same explanation could be the reason why they get away with it. Maybe her parents, in like the shock and terror of finally, finding their daughter's body, they just kind of look at it and they're like, yeah, that's her. And they don't actually like really look at it. And so my theory is that's a different dead body. It's not actually Allison. But I do need to lock in a guess before we move on to the next episode. So I got to pick one of these theories. I'm going to lock in... I like the idea of Hannah. I'm going to lock in Hannah killing her to become the new top dog. So for the first episode of Pretty Little Liars, I am locking in my guess of Hannah.
Allison is still with us, Shadow.
She's gone, but she's everywhere.
Did you miss me? Tired of keeping secrets. One can't just go around telling the truth. It comes back to bite you. I don't want to be sitting next to you at another funeral.
It started with murder. We were crazy to think that it wouldn't end up like
Give
this.
so she can take.
Goes walking.
I will never forgive you for this.
We'll be friends forever.
Never trust a pretty girl with an ugly secret.
Oh, hi there. This is Pretty Little Liars superfan Chase Bridges. Just checking in. When I was watching the pilot episode, I thought that maybe doing this video was going to be a mistake because the pilot episode was pretty rough. But now I have watched episodes 2, 3, and 4, and I've decided that I love this show. I am addicted to the show Pretty Little Liars, or as us superfans call it, PLL. Am I right, ladies? Just as a reminder, I will be checking in every few episodes as opposed to checking in after each and every episode. It all depends on how many clues I find and how much of it is teen drama stuff and how much actually relates to A. So, in this section right now, I just got done watching episodes 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm checking in, and I'm gonna make a guess here in a minute. Now, I mentioned in my last check-in that I think that the 4 girls had something to do with Allison's death. I don't think that's still the case. It's possible, but I'm having my doubts. What I do know is that they are not completely innocent. The big thing that we learn in these few episodes is that these 4 girls had something to do with the incident that caused the blind girl to go blind. Here's basically what happened that caused Jenna, who's the blind girl, to go blind. Basically, Allison, she sees, quote unquote sees, Toby Kavanaugh, that's this guy right here. She sees Toby spying through the girl's window and watching him get changed during like a little sleepover. And so to get back at him, she's like, let's go, girls, like Shania Twain. And they go through the woods to Toby's house, and Allison throws a stink bomb into their garage. It blows up, and it catches the garage on fire. And while Toby was not in the garage, his stepsister, Jenna, was. And Jenna goes blind because of it. Now, the show is really setting it up for Jenna and her stepbrother Toby to be A. They are big red herrings. If you don't know, if you've never seen any of these videos, a red herring is someone who the person telling the story is pushing to the front as a misdirect so that you won't notice who actually did it in the background. And the show is pushing them to be our big red herrings. They're obviously A, because get this, Toby took the fall for the accident that blinded Jenna. And he took the fall because Allison threatened him. Allison told him that she was going to reveal his secret unless he took the blame. Now, we don't know what that secret is, but we do get a bit of info that leads us to believe that Allison was dating someone older around the time of her disappearance. And when Toby is first introduced in the show, he is described as an older guy. So my current theory is that Toby was seeing Allison or dating Allison or whatever at the time that she disappeared. But I want to be very clear. I do not think that Toby and Jenna are A. Speaking of A, let's break down the messages that we received from A. We, because I'm a part of this, baby. It's just me and the girls. The first message, which was sent at the beginning of episode 2, is sent to all 4 girls at the same time. The 4 girls get called over the intercom to the office at school, and as they're making their way there, they all get a text that says, "Dead girls walking, -A." The next message is also sent to all 4 girls. This time it's while they're sitting at lunch, and Jenna is sitting near them at lunch. The message is, "If only she could see how guilty you look, -A." Now, an important thing to note at this message is that Jenna could not have sent that message because we see her. We can see her when that message gets sent. But her stepbrother Toby could have sent that message, so it doesn't completely exonerate her. The next message we get from A is sent to only Emily. Emily is cuddling with her new, right here, her new friend/girlfriend. It's complicated. Emily's trying to figure some stuff out, guys. You just leave her be, she'll get there. But she gets a text, and the text says, "Did you get a good night kiss? Here's one from me, XO-A." What is absolutely baffling to me is that this message is sent when they are they're in Emily's room just cuddling. It's so private. How can they see her? How do they know when to send the text? I mean, this happens again with the next message we get, which is with Aria. She is making out with her English teacher. You remember him from the bar? And when she's done making out with him, she gets a text from A. "When students kiss teachers, someone gets hurt. That's a promise I'll keep, -A." These are really private moments where there's no one else around. And yet A knows exactly what happens and when to send the texts. I know last part I mentioned a theory that maybe A is a ghost. I mean, but it gets even crazier because in episode 3, all 4 of the girls are like out in the woods and they hear someone out there with them, and then they get a text message. Heads up, BFFs. It's open season on Liars and I'm hunting -A. So we know that A was physically near them in the woods. And this happens again in episode 4, but I'll get to that. You see, the big hook of episode 3 was that there's a big party going on that like everyone in the school goes to. And while we're at the party, we get some crazy stuff that happens with A. So Emily and Maya, they get into a photo booth at the party and they kiss right when the picture's taken. And when the photos like come out of the booth, a hand comes in and takes the pictures. I am assuming that that hand belongs to A. So A was at the party. Up to this point, A has just been text messages and emails and letters. Now we have physical evidence. There's the noise in the woods, the hand taking the pictures. You know, we're not dealing with a cyber ghost, I guess. Also at this party, Hannah tries to sleep with her boyfriend. He refuses. I'm not sure why that's important, but it just feels important. But right after that rejection happens and he won't sleep with her, Hannah gets a text. Heads up, hun. Hefty Hannah never gets the guy. -A. That's what Allison used to call Hannah. Hefty Hannah. Jeez, man. Kids are ruthless. And then at the end of that episode, we actually catch a glimpse of A. They're in the woods again, and the girls almost see who A is. Like, they almost catch him. And right where they're standing, where they almost catch A, Allison's friendship bracelet is laying there in the dirt. Now, that is a quite haunting image, if I do say so myself. But not as haunting as the very last visual that we get in episode 3. Right before the credits, we have this little moment where A has printed out tons of copies of the picture where Emily and Maya are kissing. And they've made like an entire shrine of it on the wall. What the fuck, dude? And as crazy as the messages that we've seen from A have been, they get absolute insane in episode 4. So basically the girls have blocked all messages from unknown numbers. So no more texts, no more calls, no more emails from anyone that they don't know. And they're like, okay, that must be the end of the A messages. But what they don't understand is that A is an evil mastermind. They are on a level of villainy that has never been seen or heard to this day. Literally, the moment that they all block unknown numbers from getting their phone, a missing poster of their friend Allison flies through the wind and just happens to land at their feet. And the poster says, "Ding dong, the bitch is dead." How did they do that? How did they know that that poster that they wrote on was going to be taken exactly to the place where the girls were standing by the wind at the exact moment that they all blocked outgoing messages? A is a genius, bro. A is a mastermind. Also, later in the episode, Emily pulls out her textbook from her locker, which was locked. She gets to class, opens it up. The picture of her kissing Maya is in the textbook. There's levels to this shit, dude. A got in the locker, in the textbook. It's not like they just slipped it into the seams of the locker. No. In the textbook. In the locker. Oh, and to cap it all off, later, Hannah's in the car. This is Hannah, by the way. But she's listening to the radio in the car, and the radio DJ hops on the air, and the DJ's like, "From the request line, this one's coming from A to her best friend Hannah." And then the song, "I Don't Need You Anymore," starts playing. Dude, how in the world did A know that Hannah would be listening to that station at that time? Oh, and get this. Aria tries to come clean to her mom about her dad's affair, but A beats her to the punch and sends Arya's mom a letter telling her all about her husband's affair. A is working hard, dude. Do you know how much you have to hate someone to put in this much effort? I mean, there's preying on someone's downfall, and then there's making sure that downfall happens each and every moment. A is the Kobe Bryant of villainy, dog. There are no off days. A is pulling the Michael Jordan flu game every single episode. At the end of episode 4, A has broken into Spencer's house. Remember, this is Spencer. And A leaves a message on Spencer's mirror. And it says, "I won't be that easy, bitches, -A." You know, all the girls are there in the room with her when they see it. And the message is written in jungle red lipstick, which was the same lipstick that Allison used to wear. So let's break this down, shall we? First thing I want to say is that this show uses a lot of mirrors. Like, there's a lot of mirror imagery in this show. And I think that could be like a metaphor for like A showing the 4 girls their true selves, or like, you know, a reflection of themselves or something. Or it could be a clue as to who A is. Another thing that I noticed is that when Allison was alive, it seemed like she really enjoyed messing with people and like messing with their lives, especially her friends. She would like learn their secrets and then use those secrets to make them her puppets. Like, she would egg them on. Like, hey, if you don't tell your secret, I will. And that's exactly what A is doing. Her friends talk about how Allison knew all of their secrets, but they didn't know any of hers. And it just kind of seems like they knew nothing about her life. Like, they don't know who she dated. They don't know anything about her family, really. Nothing. And from these flashbacks, it seems like Allison was just like this sociopath who just was like a puppet master and used people as her playthings, even after death, apparently, because, I mean, A is doing the same thing. And that's interesting, right? Because, like, whoever A is just, like, continuing the same thing that Allison did when she was alive, which is an interesting theory, which is, what if Allison is just still alive? Like, this is all a part of her big game, her big plan. She fakes her disappearance. She fakes her death. And now she is free to just run around the town and mess with people. I mean, it is really crazy that A shows up at the same time that they find Allison's body. So who is A? Who am I going to lock in as my guess for this batch of episodes? Well, here are some clues that I picked up on. In a flashback, we see like a sleepover that the girls are having, and there's a mirror. And remember, there's a lot of like mirror imagery in the show so far. And during the sleepover, we see Allison looking in the mirror, and behind her, Hannah is just staring at her. And it's not super noticeable. She's in the background of the reflection. And it just looks like she's staring at her with obsession in her eyes. So, you know, the theory that we locked in last time was maybe Hannah wants to be Allison, and so she's A. I think that's still a really solid theory. But they actually bring up this theory in the show. The detective that has been investigating them, which I forgot to put up on the wall, he's also sleeping with Hannah's mom. So, but like, kind of against her will. Like, it's kind of like a blackmail situation where it's like to keep Hannah out of trouble. Well, anyway, the detective has a whole conversation with Hannah and her mom about that theory, being like, oh, you probably wanted to be like her, huh? So it's safe to say that if, you know, the show blatantly is saying that theory out loud, that it's probably not our actual answer. We also get a line of dialogue in these episodes where they say, are you sure it's a her? And they're talking about, you know, trying to figure out who A is. And that happens 2 different times in these couple of episodes. So it seems like the show is telling us, hey, don't just look at female suspects. A could be anybody. So let's look at some male suspects. Like Ren. I don't know if you can see him super well. That is Spencer's sister's ex. You know, because Spencer, you know, kind of ruined that. But anyway, Ren is his name, and he shows up drunk to talk to Spencer. And he's like trying to woo her, you know? And he mentions that he tried to call her, but she blocked his number. And she's like, oh, no, I didn't block you. Like, I was just blocking all unknown numbers. It wasn't because of you. But my theory is, what if this was a drunk slip up? He's drunk. He doesn't realize what he's saying. And he goes, hey, you blocked me. He's A. And, you know, she thinks he's saying like, oh, you blocked me. But no, he's saying you blocked me, comma, A. I don't think that's the case, but it's a cool theory. And dude, the mystery is just so fascinating. I'm really, really excited about this because not only is A, you know, sending them messages about secrets that only Allison knew about when she was alive, but now A is sending messages about secrets that nobody knows about because they're happening right now in private, which means that not only is A watching their every move currently, but A was watching their every move back then, like before Allison disappeared. And I mean, A has to be like everywhere all the time. A is seeing personal, intimate moments that are happening in people's cars, in their bedrooms, in their houses, police precincts. So how is A everywhere? How is A at all times watching 4 different girls constantly? In these episodes, we find out that Allison's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Well, should I say she had blunt force trauma to the head. The real cause of her death was suffocation. So my theory is, you know, whoever A is killed Allison by, you know, hitting her in the head and choking her or whatever. And then they had to wait a year for all of everybody to be back in town, right? Because Arya went to Europe. I don't know what the others did. But now, a year later, they're all back in town, and it's time for A to complete the second phase of her plan, which is becoming Allison. They killed Allison, and now they're becoming Allison. Because Allison loved toying with all of her friends' lives. She loved it. And now A is getting to do it. Now, I really think that my theory that it's Hannah is so solid, but they talk about that theory in the episode. So I'm thinking it's not Hannah. But the fact that they like that motive is brought up in the show means that we could be onto something with the motive, right? Of like becoming Allison. And who is Hannah's partner in crime and bestie? Mona. So I'm actually going to lock in Mona this time for the same reasons I was locking in Hannah, except with Mona. Because remember, we saw her being like super nerdy and left out in the pilot. Well, maybe now this is her revenge. So that's what I'm locking in for episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Pretty Little Liars, Mona.
The compulsive lie. If at first you don't succeed, lie again.
I just watched episodes 5, 6, and 7. And to be honest, I'm really glad that I'm watching multiple episodes at a time instead of just one at a time and then checking in, because there's some episodes where we get no clues, it seems like. But let's go ahead and just jump right in to the messages that we've been getting from A. So after the last message that we got at Spencer's house, you know, where they wrote on the mirror, we get a follow-up message the next morning, because all of the girls have unblocked A at this point. They decided texts are a lot better than A breaking into their bedrooms and leaving messages on the mirror. A sends the girls a text that says, "Have you ever wondered what happens when your back is turned? -A." And then attached to the text is a video of them finding the mirror message from the last episode, which means that A was in Spencer's closet filming them when they were reading the message off of the mirror, which is very terrifying. Also, we see A do something that we haven't seen them do before. A sends a message to one of the girls about one of the other girls. Hannah receives a message that says, "Now I know 2 secrets. Hannah got dissed and Emily got kissed -A. And then attached to that text is a picture of Emily kissing Maya. You remember the one from the photo booth that A has been using? So now Hannah knows all about Emily's secret, which was that she kissed Maya. It should be noted, I don't think I've said this, and so it might be confusing for some people that have never seen the show watching this. No one knows that Emily is gay. In fact, Emily has just kind of started to figure that out herself. So it's a lot more than just, oh my gosh, she kissed Maya. It's very much like they're going to out her. Another new dynamic is that when Arya accidentally leaves her phone at Ezra's apartment, he starts blowing up Arya's phone, which causes Ezra to look at the phone to be like, whoa, what's going on? And there's a message that says, lucky you, Arya. Other students have to do their homework. You get to do the teacher -A. Ezra sees that, and that puts a wrench in things because now he thinks someone knows about them. And so, you know, their relationship's up in the air now at this point, which is probably a good thing. He's her teacher. Every time that I think that A can't come up with a better way to send a message, I'm proven wrong. At the beginning of episode 6, the girls are eating Chinese food and open up fortune cookies. And the fortune cookies have messages from A in them. Look, I know that A is a bad person for doing all this. Maybe even a murderer. But you have to compliment their work ethic. I mean, they're shooting nothing but half-court shots and just draining them every time. The message in the fortune cookie says, lions and tigers and bitches, oh my. There's no place like homecoming. See you there. -A. Which means that A is going to be at homecoming. So we need to be paying attention to who's all at homecoming. Then, for that episode, no more messages from A really until we're at homecoming and Spencer is at the tarot card reading booth. There's like a fortune teller booth. There's a message on one of the tarot cards that says, kiss bye-bye to your BFF, which I know you don't know what that means yet, but it's like this whole episode, they're really making out Toby. It seems like he's going to like hurt Emily. Like, it seems like he's going to kill Emily at homecoming. And to be fair, he does start acting super weird. Like, he starts acting weird. He chases her, and then she accidentally falls down and hits her head. And then, she hits her head, so he takes her to the hospital and, drops her off and then takes off in his motorcycle, running from the police and all that, you know? I know that was vague. We're going to cover all of the Toby stuff here in a minute. In episode 7... we get only one message from A in the entire episode. And that message was, thanks for getting rid of Toby for me, -A. And, because he ran off on his motorcycle. Now, let's really just dig into this Toby character, shall we? The whole show up to this point, it's been really pointing at Toby and his stepsister Jenna as, who A is. They're like, this is our obvious suspects, so I'm assuming they're our biggest red herrings. All 4 of the girls think that A are these two. We see Jenna, and she's using that jungle red lipstick that Allison used to wear, and that was used to write the message on Spencer's mirror. Plus, Jenna keeps saying these real vaguely mysterious things to the girls that kind of imply that she's A. But I think that that's all a big bluff. They are red herrings, and we need to be looking past them at who the real suspects are. So in these episodes, it seems like Toby is really falling in love with Emily. Now remember, Emily is kind of seeing Maya, but it's complicated. Toby asks Emily to homecoming. She says yes. Jenna is upset that Toby is going with her to homecoming. And Jenna tells her stepbrother, once she finds out the truth about you, she'll hate you. Maybe it's maybe the show is being oh, the audience, us, will think that she means, hey, once she finds out that you're A, she'll hate you. But I don't think that's it. Another big Toby red herring moment is that we see that he has a tattoo. And his tattoo says 901 free at last. Spencer figures out that 901 free at last, 901 September 1st, that's the day that Allison went missing. So the girls are like, it's definitely Toby. What a wild tattoo to have. And then add on the fact that at homecoming, you know, he makes Emily super uncomfortable and then chases her and then she falls and hits her head. They're like, Toby's definitely A. Now, what I think is, I don't think he was actually trying to hurt Emily. I think he was about to like open up about something, but he was doing it super creepily. It scared her. She ran away and she fell. I don't think he meant to hurt her. I mean, he might have even been telling her some really important information about who A is, but I guess we'll never know. And I say that I guess we'll never know because it seems like Toby is dead. I know. After he drops Emily off at the hospital, he takes off on his motorcycle. A few days later, they find his motorcycle wrecked. And Jenna is like on the front steps of her house sobbing, implying that he's gone. And that is when we get the final message from A for these chunk of episodes saying, thank you for getting rid of Toby for me. Like, what's frustrating, and when I say frustrating, I mean like if I was one of the girls in the show, which I'm not, what's frustrating for them is A orchestrated all of that. A was playing with their emotions, making them think that Toby was who has been harassing them, which caused him to run off and die. So even though A didn't kill Toby, they kind of killed Toby. Well, I should clarify, we don't know that Toby's dead, but it's kind of the assumption. Oh, but you know what we do know about Toby? He was sleeping with his stepsister, Jenna. I know, dude. This show is crazy. In episode 5, we get introduced to a psychotherapist. Now, the girls think that this psychotherapist is Jenna's psychotherapist. But when Hannah sneaks in to steal Jenna's file, we find out that she's not actually the patient. Toby was his patient. And they read Toby's file, which is not cool. But in that file, I mean, they thought that he killed their best friend. So I'm going to give him a little leeway. In the file, it says that he was doing it with his stepsister. And that was the secret that Allison had on him. That's crazy, dude. So the girls end up like throwing that file in the creek to destroy it. And the file just kind of like washes downstream. And then we see a gloved hand pick it up. So I'm assuming that that's A. And now A has Toby's file. Now I'm going to go ahead and double down on my idea that Toby is innocent. Mostly because he might be dead. So what suspects do we have? Quite a lot of new ones, actually. Let's talk about the psychotherapist. So when Hannah first learns about the psychotherapist, she sees Jenna leaving the office. She goes in it and the guy's there. The psychotherapist is there. And he thinks that Hannah is his new patient, Martha. And Hannah goes along with it. She's like, yeah, I'm Martha. And then she accidentally slips up while he's talking. And she goes, oh, he's her therapist. And he goes, her? Is someone else joining us? Now, I interpreted that to mean like he treats patients with DID, like multiple personality disorder. I believe it's called dissociative identity disorder. My thought process is that, this new patient, Martha, could have DID. And so he was asking, oh, is someone else joining us today? And maybe Martha, quote unquote Martha, is somebody that we know. But we know them by a different name because Martha is a different personality. Or I think the word is alter, not personality. It's a different alter. And it could even be like one of the 4 main girls. Like I had pretty much written off the 4 main characters to be A because we've like caught glimpses of A while all 4 of them are together. But if they have a partner, then that's still possible. So I guess the theory is one of them could be A and they don't even know it. Leaving that multiple personality theory for now, let's go back to Mona, who I had locked in. Mona shows up quite a bit in the homecoming episode. And she gets blown off by Hannah pretty early on in the episode, which led me to believe that Mona might not actually be that great of a guess. Because if all Mona wants is to be super popular and to be like the queen bee of the school, along with Hannah, then why would she be A and push Hannah back into her other friendships, right? Because it was just those two for that whole year. And then A shows up, and now Hannah's back with her besties, and Mona's getting, left out. So I'm going to throw that theory away. That being said, we do get a pretty intense moment with Mona where there's this yearbook guy, this guy right here, and Mona calls him a mean name that Allison used to call him when Allison was still alive. And Hannah, who's become pretty good friends with the yearbook guy, tells her off for being mean to him. And Mona goes off on Hannah and essentially tells her that she'll drop Hannah before she goes back to being the bottom of the food chain. Now, the big clue here is that she's using the same name that Allison used for him when she was still alive. However, I imagine if she called him that a lot, a bunch of people at school probably called him that. But hey, I've got other theories. Remember how I mentioned that at Homecoming there's a fortune teller booth? Well, when Spencer is at the fortune teller booth, we get this prediction from the fortune teller about a bad couple. There's something wrong with this couple. It's a bad match. There's darkness within him. Maybe even violence or vengeance. She could be talking about Batman. But I think maybe one of the four main girls' love interest could be A. Now, in the moment that this happens, it's within the context of we still think that Toby is about to kill Emily. And so that's who we immediately think. Oh, they're a bad couple. It's a bad match. He's got violence and vengeance. We're talking about Toby. Except we, me and you, the ones watching this, we don't think it's Toby, mostly because we know he might be dead now. And so if it's not Emily and Toby that's the bad couple, that's the bad match, maybe it's one of the other girls' couple. The love interests right now is Arya has her boyfriend / English teacher, Ezra Fitz. Now, he may or may not be leaving because of their whole situation. It kind of blew up, but, I guess he's still a suspect. Spencer has a new boyfriend, Alex. Alex's A starts with an A, and this dude is very charming. He works at the country club that Spencer's family goes to. And in the back in the kitchen, there's what they call a bitch board where they put pictures up of different customers who are rude to them. And they're they'll take pictures and then draw devil horns on it and stuff. And Spencer's picture is on there and it's been all done up with the devil horns. And he feels really bad. Alex is like, whoa, hey, no, I've never seen you on there before. For real. And so my thought process is, I've never seen you on there before. What? That's crazy. What if actually he's A and he has a vendetta against them and he's the one that put her on that board, but then when she sees it he's like, I would never, I don't even know. And Emily's love interest is actually Maya, even though it was kind of Toby as well, but not really. It's really Maya, which I don't know if this applies to Maya because the fortune teller specifically says darkness in him, but you never know. And then Hannah's boyfriend is, where did he? Oh, he's right here. Hannah's boyfriend's this guy. And, we've seen quite a bit of their dynamic. He's never done anything super suspicious. But I will say that they're having issues right now. It seems like they might break up. And Hannah actually seems to be kind of crushing on the yearbook guy a little bit. In fact, one thing that is very interesting about the yearbook guy is he starts talking about how much he hated Allison. I mean, he's talking to Hannah and he really drives home how terrible she was to him. Allison, I know she's the victim in all of this. She was killed, but also kind of had it coming. She was really terrible to people. It was messed up, man. It was pretty bad. Maybe it was revenge. He seemed to really hate her, and he's on yearbook. So he's always around with a camera. People probably don't notice him. He's not popular. He's a loser. That could be how he is everywhere at all times, And he was at Homecoming for a little bit. And A said that they would be at Homecoming. So technically, meets the criteria. But to be fair, pretty much everyone was at Homecoming. Even people who don't go to the school, like Alex. He was there for his first date with Spencer. And Ezra was there as a chaperone, so he got to see his girlfriend, who's a student there. He's a teacher. He's a teacher at the school there that she's a student at, and they're dating. They're together. They kiss. The only person who I don't think was at Homecoming is Jenna, and that's okay because we don't think it's Jenna anyway. I don't really know who to lock in for this batch of episodes because we have a ton of suspects. My new favorite theory is the multiple personality theory. And the person who I think best describes that suspect would be Hannah. Right? Like, because she's the one that meets the psychotherapist accidentally. But, you know, what if the psychotherapist said, oh, you must be my new patient? And we were like, oh, she's pretending to be the new patient. But what if she actually was his patient? And just because it was a different name, we were like, well, it's obviously not Hannah. She's sneaking in here. But, you know, for the same reasons that I stopped looking into Hannah a few sections ago when they brought up that theory in the show, I'm like, well, that if they brought it up, then it's too obvious. We can't use that theory. Then there's Spencer, who was the one that was outside that night that Allison disappeared. Remember, Spencer's the one that was like, I don't know where she is. I think I heard her scream. Maybe Spencer killed her, or Spencer has an alter or a different personality that killed Allison, and then she went back to being Spencer and had no recollection of it. She didn't even realize that she did it. Then there's Arya, who was gone for a year, and then A didn't start happening until Arya got back. And Emily, I don't have anything for Emily. I do think that Hannah is my best bet for this. Oh man. What if it's okay, so if it's going to be one of the main girls, then they have to have someone helping them because we keep seeing like glimpses of A when the four girls are together. So what if I combine my Hannah and Mona theory and I lock in both Hannah and Mona? Is that allowed? I think it's allowed. So that's what I'm locking in for episodes 5, 6, and 7 of Pretty Little Liars. I am locking in Hannah and Mona as A.
The seductive lie. Some are willing to bear everything from the truth.
It's time to buckle up, bitches, because I thought we were in like this mid-season slump where there wasn't a whole lot of action happening. It was mostly just like side plot drama. Oh, but I was wrong. I just got done watching episodes 8, 9, and 10, and this is some of the best action we've gotten in this show so far. Along with the texts and the messages, we've started to get a lot of flashbacks that are including Allison from when she was still alive. And it really feels like we are getting so close to figuring out what happened to Allison. Who killed her? Did she die? All of that stuff. However, I need to remind you that we are not trying to solve what happened to Allison. We are not trying to solve who killed Allison. No, we are trying to solve who is A. Leading up to Allison's memorial service, this isn't the funeral, it's like a memorial that the main girls are putting on for their dead friend. Leading up to the memorial, they get a message. And the message says, subject, the dedication. Do it right, I'll be watching, just like Tom Sawyer. Dash A. Now, I don't know what the fuck Tom Sawyer has to do with this. I think he worked on like a fence or something. So maybe A is going to be watching through a fence that A has to paint. Also, unless I'm mistaken, based on my notes, I believe this is the first time that the message ends with dash A instead of just dash A. We've got 2 dashes now. Now, that could mean nothing. Or it could mean everything. Like maybe switching the number of the dashes is evidence that we have 2 different people sending the messages. It's like, it's just subtle enough where it's just like, oh yeah, I always do dash A at the end of the message. And then the other person who's also A didn't understand and did 2 dashes or something like that. But if I'm being completely honest, the stuff that is so interesting from this batch of episodes isn't the messages from A, it's the flashbacks that are including Allison from when she was still alive. Like in one of these flashbacks, she's straight up talking about dying young. She talks about, leaving behind a beautiful corpse. And then she asks him like, hey, haven't you ever thought of dying in some deliciously tragic way? Some mysterious way? That would just be so much better. Like, that's weird, right? Like, even when she says it, her friends are like, what? And they're like, Allison, is that how you want to go? And Allison says, no, not yet. And then she says, like, it's immortality, my darlings. Who is this girl? Allison sucks, dude. Something we learn from these flashbacks is how much she loves toying with other people's lives. Everyone's just a game to her. No one else matters. We also start getting all these hints about her dating an older guy. Now, we've talked about this before, and we kind of assumed that the older guy was Toby, but we find out that that is not the case. And we'll get to that. A super fascinating thing that we learn, though, is that Allison told Jenna that the incident that caused her to go blind was all Spencer's idea and fault. And she tells Jenna the whole story of what actually happened, but she replaces the fact that she's the one who did it with Spencer. And Jenna wasn't the only person that Allison told that story to. She also told her older brother that story about it all being Spencer's fault. At the end of episode 8, someone destroys Allison's memorial. It's like pouring down rain, and they just start smashing her memorial. We also find out that the police have Allison's friendship bracelet in their possession, which means that the friendship bracelet that said Allison's name that the girls found in the woods that A dropped was not the actual friendship bracelet. It was a replica. Now, almost immediately in episode 9, we stumble upon Emily, covered in mud and the rain, and we find out that she was there that night at the memorial when it was destroyed. So, well, we don't know if like she was there as it was being destroyed. Basically, they think it's being lobbed up that, oh snap, Emily destroyed the memorial. But between you and I think that this yearbook guy is actually the one who destroyed the memorial. Emily gets a message from A that says there's only so much you can bury. Emily, you're not done with me yet. Dash, dash, A. Again, 2 dashes. And Emily is like the main target of episode 9. She receives another message, and that message says, hey, Em, you weren't the only one with great expectations. Check it out, XOXO dash dash A. Now, this leads Emily to go to the library and check out a copy of Great Expectations, the book. And A has put a letter in the book that Emily had written to Allison. And A is actually in the library with Emily when this happens. So A is like right there. A lot of the students are there at the school because there's an SAT thing going on, which leads us to believe that A is probably a student, or, I guess there's also teachers. Now, while Emily is dealing with this whole book thing, A sends a message to the other 3 girls. And that message says, define dissertation. Looks like you're about to lose Emily. Who's next? Dash, dash, A. Now, we don't lose Emily, but this is the second time that A has implied that they are going to kill Emily. The first time being when Toby was upstairs with Emily during the homecoming, and it really seemed like Toby was gonna kill her. Remember, A sent a message that said, kiss bye-bye to your BFF? Now, Emily does not die, but the other girls do find out her big secret, and that big secret is that Emily was in love with Allison. And Allison and Emily had actually kissed. And, and in all these flashbacks, we see that, like, Allison was just toying with Emily and, like, messing with her over the confusion of her sexuality. I could definitely understand why one of these girls would want to kill Allison. It really seems like she just tortured them. Now, episode 10 gets insane. Hey, look, if this show is meant for teenage girls, well then tell my homeroom teacher I'm running late and I'll be there soon because I'm loving this show. Episode 10 is all about Mona's birthday party. And A sends the girls a message saying, Camp Mona, that's what Mona's calling her birthday party. Camp Mona is a scavenger hunt and I'm the prize. Come and find me, bitches. Dash dash A. And it's a girls only party, which means that if A is in attendance, A must be a girl, right? No, maybe not. We'll get to that. Anyway, the FBI has showed up to town and FBI has taken over the case. And the FBI shows a video that they have regarding to Allison's death. That video, I believe, was sent to them by A. In the video, Allison is like talking to the camera. The person holding the camera seems to be her older boyfriend that we've been hearing so much about. And the video is taken on the night that she disappears. So the assumption here for both us, the audience, and the people in the show, the girls and the FBI, is whoever was taking that video, whoever that older boyfriend was, is who killed her. But we'll see. A doesn't seem to be super happy that Arya and Ezra have ended things. And Arya seems to be kind of starting to talk to this football player. Seems like she might be moving on from Ezra. She might be finding a new love her own age. So A sends Arya a poetry book where inside is a poem that Ezra wrote about Arya. Because you know, every English teacher writes poems about their students that they are secretly dating. Now, once she reads that poem, it kind of rekindles things between the two of them, and now they're back together. It almost seems like A was upset that they no longer had that secret to hold over Arya's head. It was like, you know, she had this secret of exposing that she's dating her English teacher. But once that secret went away, they needed to get it back. Oh, and A has also sent a text message to Mona now. So I would like to put out there that I no longer think that Mona is A. She's off the suspect list. She doesn't seem to know anything about A because A texted her that Hannah got liposuction, and that's how she lost all her weight. And she actually seems pretty upset with Hannah over it. So it seems like she did not know that information. Oh, but I should add, that information is not true, I don't believe. I don't think she actually had liposuction. I think it was just a lie that A sent to Mona to spread around the school, which she did. Somebody calls Emily, and we don't know who's on the other side of the phone. I'm assuming that it's A, but all we can hear is like heavy breathing. I'm not too sure what that's about, but you know. Ooh, but we do find out that A sends Emily's mom the picture of Emily and Mona kissing, outing her to her mom. A is a messaging fool, man. A just be sending messages to everybody. In fact, Emily kind of gets hit from all sides in these episodes. Like, Toby's back. Toby's alive. He's not dead. And Toby tells her about like what happened with Allison outside of the barn that night. Everybody thought Toby did it. They still think Toby did it. And Toby admits to being there with her that night, but he didn't kill her. He saw her get in the car with some guy. Now remember, this is happening when the rest of the girls are asleep in the barn. I thought it was like a garage or a building that they were staying the night in, but it was Spencer's barn. Toby also tells Emily about the situation with his stepsister, Jenna, because remember, we found out that they were sleeping together. So he tells her that Jenna was like madly in love with him and was kind of like forcing him to stay with her and to be with her. And he officially ended things with her the night that Allison disappeared, which is why he has the September 1st free at last tattoo. It wasn't about being free of Allison, it was about being free of Jenna. And like, you know, he explains that she was like saying that if he didn't stay with her, she would tell everyone that he forced himself on her. This show, man, this show. Now, Emily isn't so sure she believes what Toby is telling her, but he looks at her and he goes, I need you to believe me, Emily. It is important. It's all that matters, Emily. Please believe me. And it's like, why? Why is it all that matters? Anyway, meanwhile, we're at Camp Mona, and the girls are doing the scavenger hunt that A has left for them. They're trying to figure out who A is. You know, A sends a message to them. You found my bracelet. Now come find me. Good luck, bitches. Dash A. Dash dash A. 2 dashes. So Spencer goes alone to the spot where they initially found the fake friendship bracelet. And there's a little package right there in that same spot. The package has another friendship bracelet in it, except this one has Jenna's name on it. And then it has a note that says, you're as in the dark as Jenna, looking for me in all the wrong places. Get this, no dash A, no dash dash A, nothing. So, all the wrong places. That means that they need to look in the right places. Spencer figures out that they need to go to Wright's, W-R-I-G-H-T, Wright's playground. When we get to the playground, A was just there because we can still see the swinging where someone just got off of it. And at the playground, there's a big tree where there's a carving in the tree that says Allison loves Ian. Now, Ian is Spencer's sister's ex-boyfriend. Now, this is the ex-boyfriend that Spencer actually kissed, and Allison knew about it and threatened to tell Melissa about it if Spencer didn't tell her sister about it. Do you remember all that? Because I know this is a lot. This is a lot of information. Well, we find out that Ian is the older guy that Allison was seeing. But that kind of pales in comparison to what happens next. Aria ends up meeting Mr. Fitz, aka Ezra, aka her teacher, in his car in the woods. Remember what I said about, it being an all-girls party? Well, hey, there's a boy here at the all-girls party, and he's a grown man dating a teenager. Now, Hannah sees this happen because she's looking for A through some binoculars, and she sees Aria get into Ezra's car. Aria and Ezra start making out. And then Hannah, while she's watching Aria and Ezra make out, not in a creepy way, just in a what in the world kind of way, she sees A. A sneaks through the woods and writes a message on the back of Ezra's car. And A writes on the car, "I can see you," like in the dust. Which, in the moment, we're like, oh, A is talking about they can see Aria and Ezra kissing. But I think that what A meant was, "I can see you." A was talking about Hannah with the binoculars in the woods watching them. And dude, this is the first time that we've seen A, like, other than just a hand or a glimpse. Like, we see A running around. And get this, dude. Hannah knows who it is. Hannah sees A, immediately pulls out her phone, sends a message to her friends saying, "I know who A is." And then they all go to meet in the parking lot, and bam! Hannah gets hit by a car. Hannah might be dead, dude. Right after the car drives away, the girls are hysterical and they get a text. She knew too much. Dash A. Dude, Hannah might be dead. Because, like, if Hannah actually did see who A was, I don't imagine that they're just going to reveal A at this moment or, like, in the next episode. So it's like, they killed Hannah off. Because isn't that, like, such a tragedy? As, like, one of them figured out who A was and then died? So let's unpack all of this. Because this is a lot of information. I hope that you're understanding all of this. Because this is a lot. I hope you're as invested and excited as I am about it. I hope I don't know if you've watched the show if you're watching this, which would be pretty wild if you'd never seen the show and you're watching this. But also, hey, who am I to judge? I mean, like, I'm already kind of confused. I can only imagine how confused you are. So let's talk about the major thing first. A has potentially just killed Hannah, which, hey, call me crazy, but I think means Hannah's not A. Now, the two people that I locked in the last part was Hannah and Mona, both of which I no longer think are suspects. Another thing is that we see A right before Hannah gets hit by the car, which means that it would have had to have been super fast for A to, like, run off, get in the car, and run over Hannah. It would have been way too quick. So I think that pretty much confirms that we're dealing with two people. Two people are A. And since that we see all four girls when Hannah gets hit by the car, that means that we can pretty much write them out as being either of A, right? Because we see the girls, we saw a glimpse of A, and there's an A in the car that hit Hannah. Which means unless there's three A's, it's probably not one of the four girls. So, who are our suspects? Ezra shows up. That makes him a possible suspect. Then there's this Ian guy who we just found out was seeing Allison when she disappeared. And then there's this whole Spencer thing. In episode 8, there's this whole chunk that basically people are talking about how Spencer and Allison used to always fight. Spencer was the only one who would stand up to Allison. And, they say this thing about how everyone was waiting for a big cat fight to happen between the two of them. Remember, Spencer is also outside looking for Allison on the night that she disappeared. Spencer also says that she was seeing Ian for a little while after him and her sister broke up. We also just found out that he was seeing Allison, right? Maybe Spencer found out that Allison was seeing Ian as well and snapped. Or maybe Spencer is the person with multiple personalities that we've been, that theory's been thrown around. But like I just said a few seconds ago, I don't think it's any of the main girls. They do truly seem to be victims here. And they've all been hit pretty hard, especially Hannah. And right now, I'm really caught up with that whole segment there where Hannah talks about dying young. The way that she's talking, it makes it seem like she was kind of in on how she died. And then in episode 8, the girls are watching a movie called I Walked with a Zombie. Maybe that's a hint to us, the audience, saying like, hey, maybe Allison is back from the dead. Maybe she was never dead at all, kind of thing. I'm not insinuating she's a ghost, although that would explain a lot. I mean, we even get a part where one of the girls says, this is still Allison's movie. We're just on the screen. Like, is Allison doing all of this? Is this her movie? Is this her game? Or, my next theory, maybe it's someone who hated Allison so much that they would destroy her memorial bench. Now, the yearbook guy, I'm not going to lie, I didn't write down his name in my notes. And I don't really want to Google, like, Pretty Little Liars yearbook guy, because, like, what if it is him and then it gets spoiled for me? So we're just going to keep calling him yearbook guy until I can hear his name again and write it down. My evidence for this is pretty straightforward. We get a whole monologue from this guy talking about how terrible she was to him and how much he hates her. And it really does seem like he's the one that destroyed the memorial. We don't know that for sure, but it really seems like it. My other evidence goes back to when everyone thought that Toby was the one who killed her and was like dating her, and like, the cops were like hunting him down. The girl said something along the lines of, what? She was seeing Toby? She acted like she hated him, but she was dating him? Well, who else did she really act like she hated? The yearbook guy. She bullied him relentlessly. What if it was all a cover? What if she was actually seeing him? Or even better, what if they were in on it? What if he helped her plan her disappearance and fake her death and everything? And no one would ever suspect that he's working with Allison because she treated him terribly. If I would have known that he was going to be important, I would have written his name down. This is really silly. My only issue with that theory of it being the yearbook guy is he seems to be really good friends with Hannah now. And I just don't know if he would like hit her with his car and kill her, Unless that was all Allison's doing and he was the one running through the woods. He didn't even know that Allison was going to do that. I would just like to take a side here to say that I really hope that Hannah is not dead. She has very quickly become my favorite character in this show. I also would add she's probably the main character of the show. Like, the pilot really made it out like Aria was going to be the main character of Pretty Little Liars, which would make sense because I'm pretty sure that actress was also like in Friends and a few other bigger shows. No, not Friends. How I Met Your Mother. I think she played Robin's sister in How I Met Your Mother. Anyway, I think it was maybe like a vehicle for her, but then they very quickly were just like, we can only do so much with this storyline with you and your teacher. Anyway, let's lock in our guess. I don't think it's Toby. I don't think it's this Ian guy. I truly think, and I'm going to get clowned in the comments for this, but I truly think that Allison is still alive and she's working with Yearbook Guy on this huge scheme. And so that is what I'm going to lock in for episodes 8, 9, and 10.
The spiteful lie. If sticks and stones don't break your bones, words will always hurt you.
Okay, guys, so far I've been doing multiple episodes at a time before I come in here and I start discussing what we found. However, so much happens in episode 11 that I decided we just need to go right into the studio and start talking. So first things first, Hannah is not dead, but she's got a broken leg and they gotta like take out her spleen or something like that. I don't even know where to really start with this episode. So much crazy stuff happens. I guess let's start with the fact that I wrote down Yearbook Guy's name. His name's Lucas. So basically, Hannah wakes up, and the first thing that she does is tell her friends the answer to the text that she sent right before she got hit by the car, which was, I know who A is. The answer to that is Noel Kahn. Noel Kahn is this guy. This is the guy right here. Noel Kahn, before you get worried, the video's not over. Because I don't actually think that he's A. But the girls do. So Noel Kahn is the football player that Arya had kind of started dating a little bit when her and her English teacher, a.k.a. Mr. Fitz, a.k.a. Ezra, were kind of having a rocky time with their relationship. Well, so she was kind of seeing him, and so that's him. That's Noel Kahn. Now, what we learn in this episode, it pretty much, to me, explains that he is not actually A. He went to Mona's party to pull a prank, and then he saw Arya get in Ezra's car. And when he saw her making out with her English teacher and his English teacher, because he's in that class, he wrote on the car window, I see you. Because at this point, he's not just upset that, he didn't get the girl. He's upset at who did. His English teacher. So he's the one that wrote on the car window, which means that A is the one who hit Hannah with the car. And we see Noel Kahn standing there as the car drives away after hitting Hannah. And he's standing right there, looking at him. So I'm pretty sure he's in the clear. Now, another big clue from the last section was that tree that had a carving in it that said, Allison loves Ian. And just as a quick refresher, Ian is the older guy that Allison was seeing before she died. Ian was also, he was dating Spencer's sister, and then him and Spencer kissed. Shortly after that, Ian and Melissa's relationship ended, and Ian started seeing Spencer in secret. He was also seeing Allison in secret. This is vital information. I hope you're understanding. So Allison knew that Spencer had kissed her sister's boyfriend and was trying to make Spencer tell her sister. But Spencer told Allison no, that she wasn't going to do it. And then Allison kind of threatened, well, if you don't, I will. The reason I say all of this is because Ian is back together with Spencer's sister, Melissa. And they eloped. They're married. That's right. Right as Ian was becoming, number one suspect. Well, I guess number two suspect because they think it's Noel Kahn. Bam! Married to Melissa, who is Spencer's sister. Ooh, also my favorite part of this episode is they go back to the tree where the Allison loves Ian carving was in because they were going to show the other girls. And dude, the whole fucking tree is gone. A cut down a whole tree. Absolute supervillain behavior, dude. A is my favorite villain of all time. Hands down. The goofiness, the pettiness, it's impeccable. Oh, and I wish that was the craziest thing that happens in this episode. Not even close. Hannah is in the hospital, because she got hit by a car. And I don't even know how to say this. Hannah's she's in the hospital. She's on a whole lot of pain meds and stuff. So she's kind of in and out of consciousness. And at one point, Allison is in her room. Yeah, this Allison, the dead girl. It's like a dream state kind of thing, I guess. But it could also be real. And I'll get to that in a moment. So Hannah wakes up. She sees Allison. And she goes, they said you were dead. And Allison goes, yeah, I heard that too. Then Hannah asks her what happened to her. And Allison responds saying that you already know. She goes, in fact, the four of you combined know more about that night than you remember. And at this point, we get some quick flashback shots of that night. We see Hannah smiling. We see Hannah looking around and scared. We see the four of them holding a flashlight and looking around. And then Hannah keeps asking. She was like, did you go meet a boy? Noel? And Allison goes, Noel? Please. Noel. That's a hard name to say. Noel? I would say Noel, but it's Noel Kahn. So if you take, the word of Ghost Allison as law, which, hey, I would, then it's safe to assume that Noel Kahn is not the one who killed her. Then Allison and Hannah, they talk some more. It's a really cool scene, and it kind of ends with Allison saying, "Telling the truth to the wrong person at the wrong time is how I ended up where I am." Notice how she doesn't say how I died. She says how I ended up where I am. And then before she can elaborate, she says she has to go back. And she said that the only reason she came back is because she was afraid that Hannah was going to die. And that's why she came back. No matter how dangerous it was, she had to see her. Now, this is absolutely wild, dude, because I don't know what we saw here. I mean, personally, I think this could be seen as Allison is still alive, but maybe that wasn't even Allison in the hospital room. What if this was something else? What if this was A, pretending to be Allison, dressed as Allison, and then in Hannah's loopy state, thought that it was the real Allison? Because at one point when Hannah's kind of like in this loopy state, Lucas, the yearbook guy, shows up. And Lucas gives Hannah a kiss on the forehead. And we find out later in the episode that that actually happened. Hannah didn't just make that up in her loopy state. So if she was right about that vision that she had in and out of consciousness, maybe she was right about the Allison vision too. And also, Allie is very careful to say that she's gone, not dead. In fact, when Hannah says they said you were dead, she said, I heard that too. Maybe Allie is alive. Maybe she's just being held captive somewhere. And then, as Allison, dream state Allison is leaving the hospital room, she says, you should do something about A. That bitch is starting to get on my nerves. So, maybe Allison is dead. Maybe this is a ghost or an angel or something. And she's been seeing everything that's going on. So, Allison is probably not A if she's still alive. But then what? Oh, God. So if Allison isn't A, then who is? Let's just start with who I locked in the last part, which was yearbook guy, who we now know is named Lucas. Lucas hated Allison and seems to be kind of obsessed with Hannah now. And immediately after Hannah has the conversation with Ghost Allison or real Allison or whatever, when Allison says, telling the truth to the wrong person at the wrong time is how I got where I am. Hannah has a conversation with Lucas where she friend zones him. And she says, I'm just being honest with you. Maybe Hannah was just honest to the wrong person at the wrong time. It's worth noting that Lucas was hanging around in the hospital after visiting hours. And he even brings up the fact that he just has a trusting face that everyone wants to believe, and that's how he got in there. So I think Lucas, the yearbook guy, very solid suspect. But I do have other theories. Later in the episode, the girls are all talking about A, and they mention something along the lines of A has a split personality. Now, I've already brought up my theory about multiple personalities several times now. So that makes me think that it's even more possible now that they've kind of made that innuendo. The girls also think that they are now dealing with two different people. They think that they're dealing with one person who killed Allison and one person who is A. They don't think that they're the same person. Now, I agree. I kind of assumed that whoever A is was also who killed Allison. But I'm starting to think that A has just been stalking and watching them for so long that A knows who killed Allison. And they're going to use that as part of their weird, freaky game. Which brings me back to the conversation that Ghost Dream Allison had with Hannah. She says that the girls remember more about that night than they think that they do. What happened that night? Were the girls involved? Did they help Allie run away? And like, is this just a situation where A knows that the girls were in on it? Like maybe it's a thing where they helped Allison run away and then Allison ended up dead and they don't know how she died, but they feel responsible. Like they're kind of responsible because they helped her run away. I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to go a little crazy. I've got a million theories running through my head. I don't know who to lock in. It's like the show is breaking me because every time I have a suspect that I'm like, oh, dude, it's got to be them. I think about it and I'm like, yes, dude, all of the evidence lines up. And then something happens and it's like, well, it can't be them. And then I think about another suspect and I'm like, well, it's got to be them too, right? And then something happens. It's like, oh, probably not them. Oh, also, I totally forgot to mention this. A leaves a message on Hannah's cast. Hannah's leg's broken. Somehow wrote a message on the cast while she was on the hospital that says, sorry about losing my temper, love. My bad, -A. And this message makes me believe that A truly means that. I think that A did not mean to lose their temper and run over Hannah. If Hannah's dead, that's one less player in the game. They no longer get to manipulate and puppet Hannah, right? And I think A flew off the handle because for the first time, the girls had gotten one step ahead of them. Like Hannah was posted up watching, trying to see who A was. And if it wasn't for the fact that Noel Khan interrupted by like running out there and writing on Ezra and Arya's makeout car, Hannah might have seen the real A. And that made A furious, causing A to lash out. I want to say it's one of the 4 girls, but I don't think so. I want to say it's Lucas, the yearbook guy, but I again don't think so. Which brings me to my final suspect for this episode, which I think could have some pretty serious weight to it. Spencer's sister. Melissa is now married to Ian. Ian is the one who kissed her sister while he was dating her. Ian is the one who was also dating the much younger Allison before she disappeared. Remember what Dream Allison said? I told the truth to the wrong person at the wrong time. What if Allison, who kept threatening Spencer that she was going to tell Spencer's sister that Spencer kissed her boyfriend, what if Allison told Spencer's sister Melissa and Melissa snapped? Now, I know what you're thinking. Chase, we just talked about this. You're not trying to solve who killed Allison. You're trying to solve who is A. And you just said you don't think whoever killed Allison is also A. Yes. So I think if I separate those two, Spencer's sister killed Allison and Lucas, the yearbook guy, is A. And that is what I'm locking in for episode 11. I feel like I am so deep in this mystery and I am operating at levels that have never been seen before in mystery solving. So twice in a row, I'm locking in Lucas as who is A in the show Pretty Little Liars. All right, now let's move on to the next few episodes.
Next Tuesday, if you've missed any of this summer's hottest new show, catch up with our Pretty Little Liars marathon event.
I'm still here, and I know everything.
We are halfway through season 1, baby, and I can feel it. I just got done watching episodes 12, 13, 14, and 15. Let's just jump right into it. Right off the bat, Hannah's mom has stolen money from the bank that she works at. Basically, there's like this old lady who only comes to the bank like once a year, and all she does is like put a bunch of money in her safety deposit box, and then she's like, see you next year. And then like also she was like, and I'm the last person in my family, so I don't even know where all this money's gonna go. Oh well, goodbye, see you next year. So Hannah's mom, because they've been having like financial issues ever since her mom and dad got divorced. So essentially, Hannah's mom and dad got divorced. Hannah's mom isn't able to pay like the mortgage and stuff. They might lose the house. So she stole the money from the bank. Because sometimes you have to girl boss your way into being wealthy again. Can I get an amen? Well, dude, A immediately finds out about this like takes them no time at all. And then when Hannah finds out, A sends Hannah a message taunting her. Like mommy, like daughter, can you run from the law with those legs? A. That is a very mean fat joke, as well as, calling both her and her mother thieves. Which, to be fair to A, they are both thieves. Anyway, while that is going on, the show is pushing hard to make Noel the number one suspect for who A is. And we all know my personal rule when it comes to when a show or movie is pushing someone to be the main suspect. It's never them. They're just a red herring. That dude is wild, though. Like, he's acting like A, but he's just not good at it. He's not secretive whatsoever. Like, he tries blackmailing Mr. Fitz because he knows about him and Arya, and so he's trying to, get a better grade on his paper. Meanwhile, A officially breaks up Spencer and her boyfriend, Alex. Alex thinks that Spencer sent in some application for a tennis thing for him or something. It really doesn't matter. All you need to know is Spencer didn't do it. A did it. And after they broke up because of it, A sends Spencer a text that's like, game, set, match, A. And then after that, A does something even worse than mess up one's love life. A steals the money that Hannah's mom stole. And then A sends Hannah a message being like, hey, you can get your money back if you do what I say. And then at the end of the episodes, we've been getting these point of view shots from A's perspective. And at the end of episode 12, we got one of A stuffing the money that they stole in a piggy bank. And there's a blonde wig in the background. So that just tells us that it could be either a guy or a girl who is A. It also tells us that A is probably not a natural blonde. So, well, there's only 2 natural blondes and one of them's dead. So I guess that just means Hannah's in the clear. It doesn't really... I guess this guy. Well, you know how I mentioned that the show is pushing hard for us to think that Noel is A? Well, the show is also pushing very hard for us to believe that Ian killed Allison. And then Spencer overhears her sister and Ian whispering in the house one night, remember, because they're married now. And A sends Spencer a message that says, married for love or an alibi? I'm going to stop saying -A after all the messages. Just know that there is one. But you know what? That is a very interesting situation because that means that A is not only just watching the 4 main girls, A is also watching every moment of their family members. A knew about Hannah's mom stealing the money, and now they seem to know about whatever they got going on. How is A everywhere? But don't worry, A is still terrorizing our 4 main girls, which the show calls the liars, by the way, are liars. Although, if I gotta be honest, I like calling them the girls. It just feels more like me and the girls trying to figure out who A is. Oh, I just gotta stay home and watch the girls so I can get this YouTube video done. Anyway, A keeps sending Hannah on little missions, right? She sent Hannah an address. And then in the note it said, ask for Hefty Hannah's order. So Hannah shows up and it's a bakery. And then A has another message basically saying for every one of these cupcakes that you eat, you get some of the money back. And they're pig cupcakes. And she sits there and she eats all of them. And there's some dudes at a different table and they're making pig noises at her as she's eating all these cupcakes. And she just feels absolutely terrible about herself in this moment because she has overcome her weight issues in the past. And then A sends another message being like, you know how to get rid of it. And that's just really messed up, dude. And it's the kind of thing that Allie would have done when she was alive. Which really just makes me think, is it possible that Allie could be alive? It's hard to believe that there is someone else out there who is as evil and despicable as Allie to do something like that and to make a joke about that. Allison knew about Hannah's problem with, throwing up. And from what I understand, Allison was the only one who knew about that incident. So how in the world does A know about that? Whatever. It has to be someone that either Allie told everything to, or I guess they were watching Allie so much. I don't know. Regardless, After Hannah eats all the cupcakes, she goes into the bathroom of the bakery, and when she pulls the paper towels, the money is like stitched into the paper towels. Oh, and then there's a message that says oink oink. And then out of nowhere, A completely changes their MO. So Noel's been going around terrorizing everyone, acting like A, but not subtly. He tried blackmailing Mr. Fitz for a better grade on a paper. Mr. Fitz refuses, and so that means that Noel is about to expose Mr. Fitz's relationship with Arya, his student. Again, for some reason, we're rooting for this guy. But then at the last second, A saves Mr. Fitz and sends Noel away. A sets up Noel, like they expose Noel for like cheating on a midterm exam or something, and so Noel gets taken away. And then A sends a message to the girls right after she saves Mr. Fitz and says A is for Allison, not amateur. And that's so weird because why would A save Arya? Like exposing Arya and Ezra is the kind of thing that A would do. So why would A prevent it from happening? My only thought is they want to be the one that does it, not Noel Khan. Or it could also be a thing where, you know, kind of like how A got them back together after they broke up. A needs Arya to have this big secret so that way A can keep their thumb on Arya. Because other than this big secret, A doesn't really have anything on Arya. I mean, there's the whole Jenna incident, but I mean, I guess A has a different game plan for that. And then also it's like, you know, A already exposed the cheating thing with her parents, so I guess that's kind of all they have on her. But it doesn't stop there. A helps the girls again. A sends a video to Spencer's computer. And it's the video of Allison and Ian on the night that she died. Except this time, the video keeps going. Previously, the video that A had shown the girls, it stops right when you see Ian's face. But in this version, we see the camera fall over, and then we start to hear noises, and we see Allison's hand grab the dirt. Now, the girls are all in shock because they think that they just watched their best friend get murdered on video. But in my opinion, you know, I know that they think that they just saw her get killed, but from the noises and the kind of way it was going, I kind of think we were seeing her get, you know, killed, if you get my drift. Well, as the girls are watching this video, A is watching them watch the video through the window. The girls catch A and start chasing after A. And they're running through the woods. A manages to escape. And one of the girls says something like, that bitch is fast. And that could be a clue, you know, like maybe A is on the track team or something. I'm pretty sure Ian is like the coach on the track team, I think. And now that the girls have found the video and Noel is completely out of the picture, Ian is now their number one suspect. Add on the fact that Spencer's laptop goes missing that was in her gym locker. The only people who have access to the gym lockers are the person whose it is, Spencer, and the coaches, which Ian is a coach. And then her laptop shows back up at her house where Ian lives, and the video has been deleted. So either Ian did steal it and deleted the video himself, or A's doing it to try to get the girls to think it's Ian. Just like how A got them to think that it was Toby, and that led to Toby's whole thing. We get introduced to a new character in episode 14. Caleb. He's the sketchy kid at school. He's a bad boy. He can take your phone and make it do things that regular phones can't. He's sketchy. That's what the show calls him. Hey, that new sketchy kid, because he's got long hair and he's a hacker. In my opinion, I think they're just going to be kind of like constantly rotating in new characters to kind of like, you know, keep the teen drama part of the show alive. So I'm not going to be focusing much on new characters that they introduce because I think whoever A is going to be a character that we've known from episode 1. Meanwhile, A is still messing with Hannah about the stolen money and gives her another job. This job ends up involving our buddy, the yearbook guy, Lucas. Prom is coming up, and A's mission for Hannah is that for every slow dance she does with Lucas, she gets $200. So all she has to do to get the money back is dance with Lucas. The issue is, Hannah is still dating This guy, Sean, that's his name, Sean. So, at the dance, Hannah's dancing with Lucas. Sean is furious. Sean and Hannah are like yelling at each other. And it really seems like Hannah's like, I can't do this anymore. And then A sends another message that was like, hey, raise time, $500 for every dance with Lucas. So she has to keep going. And we get all the way to the end of the dance. She spent the whole time dancing with Lucas. There's time for one more dance. Sean, who for the most part seems like a nice enough guy, he's just kind of an asshole, walks up to Hannah, his lovely girlfriend, apologizes to her, and kind of is like, come on, can we have, the last dance of the night? Hannah gets another text from A. You have Lucas's heart. Now rip it out. $1,000. So she does. The last dance of the dance, she dances with Lucas for the $1,000, causing Sean to break up with her. Lucas thinks that she loves him. Dude, it's a nightmare. Because now Lucas's heart is going to get broken when Hannah is like, I don't have feelings for you, even though I danced with you the entire dance. And Hannah doesn't even have her boyfriend Sean anymore. During the dance, Ian, he's there as like a chaperone. He gets super weird with the girls, basically saying that they need to be careful before someone gets hurt. And the show's really pushing us to think that he killed Allison. I think he's more likely afraid that his relationship's going to get ruined if it gets out that he was seeing such a younger girl. Because I think he was in college. I mean, he's definitely at least Ezra's age, and it's a problem that they're dating. On Spencer's laptop, there's a new picture and message from A. It's Allison with a dark shadow behind her. And it's from the night that she disappeared. The message says, watch your backs. I didn't, -A. And one of the girls is like, there's a shadow behind her, Spencer. Do you know who that is? And Spencer's like, I don't know who that is, but she knows who it was. Spencer starts acting very suspicious when it comes to this picture, and we find out in just a moment. Well, before we talk about that, I have something else I want to bring up. At the end of episode 14, we get another one of those in-credit shots from the point of view of A. A walks up to the coat check at the dance. Aria's mom is the one working the coat check. A hands the ticket, receives their leather gloves and jacket. And Aria's mom says to A, have a good night. I hope you had fun. Which means that whoever just accepted that coat and leather gloves is either a student or someone who looks like a student or someone who was supposed to be there, because Aria's mom doesn't seem the slightest bit suspicious. So going back to the whole picture of Allison thing where Spencer was being super weird, the girls are trying to figure out who took that picture. The picture looks like it's being taken from Allison's bedroom. So they assume the person who took the picture was Allison's brother, Jason. Now, Jason is back in town. The whole picture has been a big storyline, but the other big storyline during these episodes has been the Hannah money situation. And Hannah gets another job from A. This time, her job is to show Aria's mom what has been going on with Aria and Mr. Fitz. Basically, Aria and Mr. Fitz are going on a date that's out of town, so that way no one can see them. And Hannah gets Aria's mom a ticket to the same event. And Hannah is just so conflicted. She feels terrible because she's about to ruin Aria's life. But Hannah needs that money for her mom. Because get this, Hannah's mom is about to get found out for stealing the money. So if she can't scrape the money together in time and get it back in the safety deposit box, she could go to jail. Because the lady, who comes once a year to check her box that Hannah's mom stole the money from, well, she randomly calls one day and is like, hey, I'm stopping by this week. So they're panicking, and we've got two very rough situations going on. We've got Aria about to be found out about her love affair with her English teacher, and Hannah's mom's about to go to jail for robbing a bank. And as if enough wasn't already going on, we get a whole new character, Mose from Ned's Declassified School Survivor Guide is here. Her name is Paige, and she is very mean to Emily. They're on the swim team together. Paige is afraid that Emily is going to get the captain spot on the team. She makes some very homophobic remarks to Emily and tries to drown her. It is pretty wild for this lady to just show up and be evil right off the bat. And usually this is one of those side plots that I probably wouldn't have even brought up in this video because it has nothing to do with the mystery. But it kind of does have something to do with the mystery because Paige, while she's trying to like butter up the team so that she can be captain, she gets everyone on the team a friendship bracelet. And this friendship bracelet is from the same exact place that Allison's friendship bracelet was. Which means wherever Paige got her friendship bracelets made is the same place where A had the fake Allison friendship bracelet made. Meaning, all they have to do is ask her where the friendship bracelets are from, and they can go and ask the friendship bracelet store who was buying friendship bracelets. And that's exactly what Spencer does. Spencer goes to the friendship bracelet lady place, asks the friendship lady bracelet lady person. There's a lady who makes these friendship bracelets. Spencer goes to her and says, hey, who bought this bracelet? And so the lady like flips through her records and goes, Spencer Hastings. And I was like, what? And then Spencer comes clean to her friends. She's the one who's the big shadow in the picture of Allison from the night that she disappeared. And we get some more juicy details about what's going on in that picture. Spencer and Allison were having a big fight because Allison was going to force Spencer to tell her sister that she kissed her boyfriend. But Spencer didn't want to tell her sister that for obvious reasons. And they were fighting about it right then, right before Allison disappears. Oh, and before I forget, remember how I was saying that the lady who had the money at the bank that Hannah's mom stole? She died. Yep, dead. Which means Hannah's mom is safe, but also A might have killed that old lady. Pretty close call for Hannah's mom. Speaking of close calls, Sketchy Guy ends up tampering with Arya's mom's car right before the event and keeps Arya from getting found out by her parents. So, that's good, I guess. Although, maybe this is a controversial statement, but I think she should probably get busted for dating her English teacher. Let me rephrase that. I feel like he should be busted for dating his student. Oh, and by the way, the reason that Sketchy Guy messes with Arya's mom's car is because Hannah kind of confessed to him like a little bit of the situation, and he seems to really like Hannah, and so he did it for her. The end credit scene for episode 15, the ones, from A's point of view, is A talking to the bead lady who makes the friendship bracelets. And the friendship bracelet lady is like, I told them exactly what you want me to. So I'm guessing that means that the bead friendship lady is an op. It really seems like A's latest plans has been to just break up the main four girls from their love interests, kind of like, breaking their hearts. A got Hannah broken up with by Sean. A also got Spencer broken up with by Alex. A tried to get Arya busted for her relationship, which would have broken them up. And A played a key part in getting Emily's girlfriend Maya sent away. So why would A even be doing that? We get a flashback in these episodes where we see that Allison broke up Noel Khan and his girlfriend. She texted some secret of his to her, and it caused her to get up and break up with him right then. And then when her friends were like, Allison, why did you do that? She was like, oh, because Arya likes him. I did it for you, Arya. And so that got me thinking, right? So Noel is another person who was kind of like a victim of Allison's behavior when she was still alive, which got me to think well, maybe A isn't just 2 people or 3 people. Maybe A is a whole bunch of people. It's just every person in this town that was terrorized by Allison when she was alive. I don't have a ton of evidence for that, but it just kind of feels feasible. And also, why would A save Arya from getting busted about Mr. Fitz and then a couple episodes later try to get her busted with Mr. Fitz? It feels weird. It was almost like A just wanted to be the one to break up the relationship, which is wild because as long as it happens, right? Or maybe that whole thing was less about trying to get Arya and Ezra broken up, and it was more about causing Arya and Hannah's relationship to crumble because, you know, like A would then reveal to Arya that Hannah was the one that did it. So that would cause, that's probably it actually. We have Ian, who's just super suspicious. Turns out that the summer that Alicent disappeared, he was actually in Hilton Head, South Carolina with Alicent. And then when they came back from Hilton Head, that day is the day that she disappeared. And we know for a fact that Ian was with her that night because we have the video of them together that night. And then there's the whole weird situation about Ian and Spencer's sister Melissa getting married out of nowhere. And get this, they're trying to have a baby. Then we learn from Jason, who is Alicent's older brother, that whole summer before Alicent disappeared, Ian was just like hanging out at their house and, you know, smoking weed and just chilling at the place with them all summer long because him and Melissa broke up. And it's like, okay, maybe he thinks that Ian was there to hang out with him, but really Ian was just there because, you know, Alicent, and he was seeing Alicent. The last person that I locked in for who I thought A was is Lucas, the yearbook guy. And I still think that's a solid theory, but I'm beginning to have a few doubts. So because of those doubts, let's try to go back to my multiple personality theory. I've started to really find myself suspecting Spencer for that theory in particular. When Spencer's laptop got taken from her locker, there's only two people who could have taken it. Her or Ian. Well, if it wasn't Ian, because that's who they all suspect did it, so let's say that it wasn't him, then it had to have been her. She was already hesitant when the other girl said that they should take it to the police. So what if, you know, she stole it? Or maybe she doesn't even know that she's the one that took it because it was a different personality. And remember when I told you that Alex and Spencer broke up because A sent in an application for some tennis thing for Alex that he didn't want her to do? When they break up, Alex explains to her that she was the only person who knew about that. So it had to have been her that sent the application, even though she was insistent that she wasn't. And, you know, we just kind of assume, hey, A knows everything, A did it. But what if it was one of Spencer's other personalities? Then there's that whole thing where Alicent was threatening Spencer that she was going to tell her sister about what she did, which was, you know, kiss her boyfriend, who is now her husband and potential baby daddy. Maybe after that big argument that night, Spencer switched, killed Alicent, switched back, and had no idea that it was her. And then I was also going to be like, and then with the bead lady, you know, like, maybe Spencer did buy it. It says Spencer's name on it. But then, you know, we have that whole end credit scene with A talking to the bead lady where the bead lady's like, hey, I said exactly what you told me to say. So that kind of like makes me think that A is trying to frame Spencer for it. Like A is like wanting, maybe A wants Spencer to even doubt herself. Like, did I do it? And, I mean, there's always what I keep coming back to when I accuse one of the main girls of being A. We've seen all four of them together when we've caught a glimpse of A, or they've caught a glimpse of A. So, you know, of course it could be an accomplice, but I don't know how likely that is. We have a few other loose suspects, of course. There's always Sean, Hannah's now ex-boyfriend. In one scene, when Hannah gets a text from A, we see Sean on his phone right before it gets sent, so that could mean something. We have Melissa, Spencer's sister. She would have the most reason to be upset with Alicent, considering she, like, stole her boyfriend from her, kind of. Like, maybe Melissa caught them together in the woods that night and just snapped and pushed her over. She hit her head on a rock. It was an accidental death kind of thing. And then that would explain maybe why Ian and her were getting married and trying to have a baby so soon out of nowhere. Like, maybe it was like okay, we're going to try to make it to where you don't look suspicious at all. Then there's Alicent's brother, Jason, who was apparently just holed up in his bedroom all summer doing drugs, and he doesn't really remember much. I have a wild theory that maybe it was Arya's dad who killed Alicent. He's been acting kind of like darker lately. Like, we keep seeing these glimpses of kind of like a dark side of him, and we already know that he was having an affair with one of his college students, which I guess isn't as bad as like a high school student, but maybe he was also seeing Alicent and had to kill her to keep that secret. Or maybe, I don't know. Cut that. I just don't know, guys. I feel like I have all of these different puzzle pieces, and I'm just having a hard time putting them together. I am going to lock in my Spencer theory. I think that Spencer could quite possibly be A. However, I just don't, like, if you had to tell me, like, if I had to tell you right now, who is A? Gun to my head, if you get it wrong, I'm in trouble. I don't know if I would say Spencer. Does that make sense? Like, I think it's a good theory, and I'm going to rock with it because I don't have a really good alternative theory, but I would be surprised. But yeah, I'm locking in Spencer as my pick for these episodes. I'm not happy about it.
Watch ABC Family's All New Tuesdays all summer long. And this Tuesday, join the crowds of fans who can't stop watching.
Okay, guys, we're back with episodes 16 and 17. Now, usually I try to watch, like 3 or 4 at a time. However, I have so many fun theories from these 2 episodes that I went ahead and just jumped back in now. So let's just go ahead and get all of the information out of the way so I can jump straight into my fun theories. Basically, Caleb, who's the sketchy guy that Hannah met a few episodes ago, he seems to really like her. He is like homeless. He's been sleeping in the school, and the girls like found his stuff in the air vents. So now, he's sleeping in Hannah's basement because Hannah told him to, but shh, don't tell her mom. Speaking of her mom, remember how she stole that old lady's money from the bank? And then, out of nowhere, that old lady was like, actually, I want to come see my money. And then she was like, oh no. But then she died, so everything was okay. Well, turns out everything's not okay. Her great nephew has showed up, and he is wanting the money from the box. Now, this is weird because she had previously told Hannah's mom that she was the last member of her family. She didn't have any more family. And we do find out that he is not really her nephew. He's just a scam artist trying to get the money. So it all works out. I wouldn't even really be bringing it up right now, except for at the end of episode 17, we get this moment where A puts flowers on the old woman's grave, which I think means that A killed that old lady. Not only did A kill that old lady, but A killed that old lady to keep Hannah's mom from going to jail. In other news, Spencer's sister Melissa, the one that's married to Ian, who may or may not have killed Allison, Melissa is pregnant. So that's pretty crazy. Toby manages to sneak Spencer a message about Jenna. It's in Braille, though. And so they, figure it out and decipher it. And it says B-A-D. Bad. Or at least they think it does until Toby tells them they're reading it wrong. It's numbers, not letters. And the numbers are 214. Toby said that he overheard Jenna talking on the phone about Spencer, and then she wrote down those numbers. And then later on, we see a motel room with the numbers 214 on the door. So I'm assuming that that's what that's about. So if Jenna was talking on the phone about that motel room, then it's safe to say that maybe Jenna is, if not A, working with A, which goes along with my theory I brought up previously of what if it's just everyone who was wronged by Allison? What if it's a big group of people? My working theory is that it's probably a combination of Jenna and Sean and Noel Kahn. Maybe Mona and Paige. Remember when she tried to drown Emily? Pretty fucking crazy if you ask me. And I think that that's a pretty good theory because it would open up all of these characters' alibis to be oh, well, it could have been countless other people who did it. So it's oh, well, it couldn't have been Jenna because we saw Jenna. And it's well, that's okay because even though Jenna was right here and we saw her, it could have very easily been, Paige, who tried drowning Emily. Speaking of Paige, the crazy lady, she shows up at Emily's house one night and just starts apologizing to her. And we don't really know for what, but then she gets back on her bike and just rides off into the storm. And then the next day we find out that she got in an accident on her bike. Now, I will say we do find out in a different episode that it seems like her dad might be abusive to her. So that could be kind of what her whole deal is and why she's acting like that. But, I mean, it's very possible that she was apologizing for being a part of the A thing. And it's well, then why would she admit to Emily that she's A if she's A? And it's I think she's starting to have feelings for her. At the end of episode 17, she kisses Emily. And then she's don't tell anybody. But I've got other theories, friends. There's the whole Arya's dad theory that I've had cooking. In these episodes, him and his wife have worked things out. It looks like they're going to be getting back together. However, he's super jealous because he thinks that his wife is sleeping with Ezra, Mr. Fitz, the English teacher. That fool! He has no idea that his wife is not sleeping with Ezra. He also has no idea that his daughter is. What's really wild about this show is like the show is making us root for him. You know, like I'm rooting for this English teacher to not get found out for being with his student. Like, isn't that crazy? It's like, but they love each other. But also, go to jail, dude, you know? But back to Arya's dad. I think it's possible that maybe Alicent tried blackmailing him or something and he had to kill her. Because, you know, I think this is far-fetched, but it's a possibility. We know that Alicent knew about him cheating on his wife because Alicent was with Arya when Arya saw him in the car with that lady. So, you know, maybe Alicent was blackmailing him and so he had to kill her. But then I bet he felt real silly when it came out anyway and everything was fine. And now he has his wife again. It's like, no harm, no foul. I killed that girl, but hey, at least my wife's still with me. The whole reason I'm excited about these episodes is because I feel really confident in the multiple A's theory. The big team of Sean and Mona and Yearbook Guy and possibly evil drowning secret kisses to Emily girl. So I'm going to be locking in that multiple A theory as my guess for this section. I know that's not much of a guess when I just go, I think it's everybody. But I think it's everybody. Okay, yeah, that's who I'm locking in.
Tuesday, June 8th.
Friends share secrets. That's what keeps us close.
A new ABC Family original series.
Allie? She's gone. I think I heard her scream.
Okay, guys, this show is heating up. We're running towards the finish line. This is a great mystery. Every episode has me on the edge of my seat. I'm super pumped. This is not just a teen drama, okay? This is my life. I just got done watching episodes 18, 19, and 20, which only leaves 2 episodes left for season 1, which means we could get the reveal of who A is any moment. And you can tell that this show is really hyping us up for a twist ending. Right off the bat, the show is pushing Jenna hard for who A is. I think they're pushing a little too hard, so I'm hesitant. I don't think it's her. However, we are at the end of the season, so it could just be like, no, it's her. Jenna keeps saying these weird things like, I'm fascinated by the nature of evil. And then we see Jenna talking to Ian, and so, you know, that's not a good idea. And then he gives her this bag. Oh, and remember that hotel room we were talking about, 214? Well, that's Jenna's motel room. And, you know, they bust up in that motel room and they find Jenna's sunglasses and they're like, oh, Jenna's been here. But then there's also a bag of ice and a note from A that says, you're getting colder. So I don't really know what that means. Jenna starts being around Mr. Fitz a lot, you know, the English teacher and Arya's boyfriend, because Jenna has written a short story that Ezra really likes. The story is about a blind woman who exposes people. Add on the fact that Jenna keeps saying things to Arya that really makes her seem like A. Stuff like Big Brother is always watching you, and Mr. Fitz takes a special interest in his students. You know, stuff like that. And then we find out that Caleb, who you may remember as Sketchy Kid, he's dating Hannah, and they sleep together, by the way. But we find out that Caleb was hired by Jenna to get close to Hannah and find out something. But he ended up falling in love with her instead and telling Jenna that he's out. But Hannah still finds out, and that breaks her heart, especially after what they've done together. So they break up, and after they break up, Hannah walks into the bathroom where Jenna is and slaps her, dude. And then goes over, picks up the glasses that she just slapped off of her face, hands them back to Jenna and goes, hey, this is Hannah, by the way, you know, because she's blind. And so maybe she wouldn't have known who slapped her, but Hannah was letting her know right then and there. This show is so good, man. And that moment when Jenna gets slapped, we really see a whole new side of Jenna that I think is super important going forward. For the first time, with her giant sunglasses knocked off of her face, we truly just get to see her, and she looks so sad. She looks scared and vulnerable, and I'm starting to think, I don't think this is A. I think that maybe she's also being blackmailed by A, or maybe she's just trying to get some sort of revenge for what, these girls kind of did to her. It was mostly Allison, but those girls were there. This wasn't the cold, badass Jenna that we see every episode. This was a scared child. And also, we know that Jenna hired Caleb. She didn't do it as A. She didn't do it hidden in disguise. No, she did it as Jenna, and I don't think that's something that A would do. Maybe it's even a thing where A is also terrorizing Jenna, and Jenna thinks it's one of the 4 girls, and that's why she's out to get him. She's trying to see who it is. And it's like explained away, because it's like, oh, well, why'd you hire Caleb to go after Hannah and not the other 3? And it's like, well, she was the only one not dating someone. But that doesn't feel right. Then to bring it back to my multiple personality theory, I've been pretty convinced that it could be Spencer. However, something happens that leads me to believe maybe it's Hannah. At one point, Hannah and Caleb are joking around, and Caleb says something like, do you have any other personalities you should warn me about? That could be like a funny little hint that she does in fact have other personalities that she should warn him about. The only flaw with that theory is I don't know how Hannah would hit herself with a car. The biggest plot point happening in these episodes, however, is that Spencer is being framed for murder. And not just any murder, Allison's murder. This whole thing starts when they find a trophy at the school with blood on it, and the trophy belongs to Ian. And they think that that could be the murder weapon that was used on Allison, so they take the trophy and they give it to the police. Turns out it was a trap set by A. That wasn't a real trophy, and that wasn't Allison's blood. And all that really did was point them towards Spencer. They think that Spencer was trying to frame Ian, especially after they find out that they were romantically involved. Now her parents think that she's mentally unwell and that she needs to see a therapist. The police get a search warrant to search Spencer's bedroom, and guess what they find? They find fibers from the sweater that Allison died in. But they find it on Spencer's friendship bracelet. So why would A want to frame Spencer? Well, we know that Ian has been working with Jenna on something, and he seems pretty confident that Spencer is going to get arrested. It's as if he knows something that she doesn't. And he even offers to help her run away, which is interesting, right? We also get some more information about his relationship with Allison. You know, we found out that him and Allison were in Hilton Head together, but then we find out that he wasn't in Hilton Head with Allison. Melissa says that she was in Hilton Head with Ian. And Ian swears up and down that he was not romantically involved with Allison, but that Allison was stalking him and wouldn't take no for an answer. And usually, I would never believe that. Except, I've seen a lot of these flashbacks, and that kind of does seem like her thing. Like, we get a flashback where Allison takes the other 4 girls to this college party, and this girl that's like kissing Ian gets pushed down the stairs at this party, and the girls are like, oh my God, Ian pushed that girl down the steps. But then they figure out, oh wait, our dead best friend Allison pushed that girl down the steps. Because Allison wanted Ian, and that girl was in her way. Just like how she blinded Jenna. They realized that Allison was a monster, and that she wasn't afraid to hurt people to get what she wants. So that leads me to believe that Ian might actually be innocent. But how does that explain the video from the night that she dies where Ian is with her and like the camera knocks over and she's like grabbing the dirt, and then I guess she dies after that? Like, what happens? Like, maybe he was just like meeting up with her to be like, hey, you gotta leave me alone. And then Melissa hops out of the bushes and beats her up. And then, you know, like she dies later that night. Like, it's a separate incident. Like, this incident happened, she didn't die. Something, another incident happens, she dies from someone else's hand. If Ian is innocent and someone's blaming Spencer, maybe no one's framing Spencer. Maybe Spencer could be to blame. Maybe it's the multiple personalities theory. We get this scene where Spencer and Toby are staking out the motel room, you know, the 214 or whatever, and they end up kind of like cuddling up all night. And at one point in the morning, Toby wakes up and he's like, "Oh, were you up all night?" And she was like, "No, I just woke up." But what if she didn't just wake up? Maybe she was up all night, because when they go next door, they realize that the room has been abandoned and A left that message. Maybe she was up all night being A, and she did all the stuff in the hotel room next door to them and then came back in before Toby woke up. At one point, Spencer says something like, "I feel like I can hear A laughing in my head." Maybe she could hear A laughing in her head because A is in her head. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I believe like a lot of the personality disorders is due to trauma. So maybe she snapped, killed Allison, and that trauma caused her to create a separate personality, so that way she wouldn't remember that she killed her best friend. And so now she has a personality that is Allison. And so that personality that is Allison is doing things that Allison would do, even if it means framing herself for the murder. And I mean, we keep seeing A do things in these different like in-credit scenes. In one of them, we see that A has 4 pet rats and each one is named after one of the 4 main girls. In one of them, A is like watching a video of 3 of the girls standing in the woods, and A is like eating popcorn watching the video, and Spencer, conveniently, not there. And then in the last one, A has like a fake heart with Hannah's name on it. A smashes it and then like leaves a note that says, "Dear Hannah, try putting it back together. A." I don't really know what that one means, but I mean, you know, Hannah's relationship ended because of, you know, Jenna. Yeah, I don't know why I put that in this part of the video. So I do feel very good about that Spencer theory. Let's talk about my Arya's dad theory. I didn't really set out for this to be a serious theory, but little things keep happening where I'm like, hey, this could be a real thing. In these episodes, him and his wife are sneaking around and being together again. And at one point, Arya's mom is like, the lying, the sneaking around, I feel like a teenager again. And Arya's dad is like, I know, it's fun, isn't it? Yeah, he's having a great time lying and sneaking around like a teenager. Maybe that's what he does all the time as A. Remember, guys, this man is not squeaky clean. He was having an affair with one of his college students, which, you know, don't get me wrong, is not as bad as having an affair with your high school student. Another character that we don't see a lot of, but I feel like should be a bigger deal, is Arya's brother. You probably didn't even know Arya had a brother if you were just watching this video, because literally there's no reason to bring him up. So what's even the point of having him as a character if you're not going to use him? We see him every once in a while, and it just kind of seems like his big story arc is he's getting angrier and angrier due to his parents' divorce. And then if you think to when Jenna made that comment about Big Brother is always watching, maybe she literally meant their brother, you know, Arya's brother. The only thing is it's her little brother. It's not her big brother, but I mean, I don't know. He's probably bigger than her. When it comes to all of the theories that I've got going, like the multiple A, where it's just like a big group of people, I don't really believe that anymore. I don't really believe the Arya's dad theory. I mean, it's a fun theory, but I don't know if it has that many legs. And I mean, what does that even leave me with? Just the Spencer multiple personality theory, which, to be fair, I feel like I have the most evidence supporting. So I think I'm going to lock in Spencer with the multiple personality theory once again.
Can't believe it's been a year. She's gone, but she's everywhere.
I just watched episode 21, and can I just say that I miss when TV shows had like 22 episode long seasons, because you get so invested in all of the little things about all of the different characters, and I'm just so invested. Anyway, episode 21 gets wild. One thing I should say, we do not get the big reveal in this episode, which means that we'll probably get it in the next episode. However, I got burned by Twin Peaks when I did my Twin Peaks video, and the reveal did not happen at the end of season 1, so I'm not holding my breath. But just in case we do get the reveal next episode, that would make this my final guess before the reveal. So I really need to make sure that I nail this prediction. In this episode, we find out what Jenna had hired Caleb to do. Remember, Jenna had hired Caleb to find a key. Now, this is a key that Jenna thinks that Allison might have given to one of the girls. So that means that if Jenna is not A, which I don't think Jenna is A, that would explain why Jenna has been so caught up in all of their lives, because she's been looking for this key. Well, it turns out that Emily does have this key. And the key goes to a storage unit. So the girls go to the storage unit to see what the key unlocks. They open it up and it has Allison's childhood lunchbox in it. And inside of the childhood lunchbox is a USB. They take the USB, they put it in a computer, and it has years and years and years of footage of the girls. Someone spying on them and videoing them for all of this time. So the girls come to the conclusion that whoever it is that took all of this footage, whoever has been watching them for all this time, Allison found out who it was, got the USB, and that's why they killed Allison. Now, I don't know if you remember, but Allison, on the night where she blinded Jenna, she said that she saw Toby spying on them from the window. But that, I don't believe, is the truth. And even the girls are like, it can't be Toby, can it? Well, we know that Jenna knows about this footage because she's been trying to get the key that would give her access to the storage unit, that would give her access to the footage that, someone had been taking of the girls. So does that mean that Jenna is A? Let's work through that same situation, right? The night that Jenna got blinded, Allison claims she saw Toby spying on them in the window. So they go to Toby's house. She throws the little stink bomb thing in the garage. It explodes, causing Jenna, who was in the garage, to go blind. Now, what if it wasn't Toby? What if it was Jenna? Allison sees Jenna staring at them through the window, thinks that she's time to get revenge on Jenna, and throws the bomb in there on Jenna on purpose to blind her, or maybe even kill her. But that doesn't make any sense. There's too many, inconsistencies there, right? Why would she say that it was Toby? If she didn't like Jenna, she could just say it was Jenna that was spying on them. Then they would go to the garage. She would throw it in there. Same revenge, same house. We also find out in this episode that Melissa, Spencer's sister, was actually not in Hilton Head with Ian like that she claimed. It turns out she was just trying to cover for him. So that means that Ian might have been in Hilton Head with Allison romantically. So it's like, oh, Ian's our bad guy then, right? Well, I don't know, because Ian ends up saving Spencer when it looks like A is gonna get her. You see, Spencer gets trapped in a fun house at the carnival by A, and A even leaves a message in the fun house for Spencer. It says, "Shut up or I'll shut you up." Now that leads me to believe that maybe this is A telling Spencer that she just needs to shut up and take the fall for Allison's murder. Because remember, Spencer is currently being blamed by everyone for Allison's death. Spencer is like suspect number one to the police. And, long story short, Ian is actually the one that kind of saves her from the funhouse. So if he was A, then he must have been doing a good job acting, right? Because he did seem very upset. Oh, and that leads me to introduce another character that I don't even think I have them on the wall. This is Garrett. He is a police officer, and he grew up on the same street as the girl, so they're kind of childhood friends. And his chief or whatever was like, hey, keep an eye on these girls. Because remember, everyone thinks the girls are super guilty. And also, it just kind of seems like he is friends with the girls and he wants to help them. So he's been following them a lot and keeping an eye on them, both because of his orders, but also I do think he genuinely wants to help them. But something that happens because of this is he follows Arya to Mr. Fitz's apartment one day, and now he knows that, Arya and Mr. Fitz are a thing. And we even see him talking to Mr. Fitz. He knocks on the door of his apartment and he starts talking to him. And he's like, hey, you mind if I come in? I want to talk to you about one of your students. And it really looks like he's about to lay into Mr. Fitz, right? Because technically, hey, I know the show has us rooting for these guys. We want them to end up together, right? Well, he's a grown man and she's his student. So I was kind of rooting for maybe this cop is just going to beat up Mr. Fitz, right? Because don't get me wrong, Ezra's a nice guy. He seems like a very good person, but also student. And also, guys, when it just comes to this episode, basically, if what we learn in this episode is true, which I think it is, that means that who we are looking for is the person who has been spying and videoing the 4 girls for years and years and years. And the reason that that is frustrating for me is because Spencer is in the footage too, which means that my Spencer with the multiple personality theories, I'm getting flustered. Which means since Spencer is in the footage as well, it means that she's not the one who's been doing it, which means that my Spencer multiple personality theory does not work. So if I can't go with my Spencer theory, who is my biggest suspect? Well, I'm glad that you asked. It's the yearbook guy, Lucas. Now, I know what you're saying. Chase, we've accused him before, and you pretty much seemed like you didn't think it was him. Well, that was before I learned more information. And that new information is, I don't have any other real theories. And here's another thing. We haven't seen this guy in a while. But it would make sense that he's the person spying on him, right? But if he hasn't even like been in the show for a good while now, it's like he's just gonna pop back up next episode. That doesn't feel right. And then there's this whole Jenna situation. How in the world does Jenna know about the key to the storage room to the footage if she's not the one that took the footage? And is the person who took the footage of the girl and has been watching the girls for all these years, are they A? Are they the killer? Are they the same person? In the end credit scene for this episode, we see A taking the key that's under Mr. Fitz's rug, like in front of his door, which means that A now has access to Mr. Fitz's apartment. Now, I'm not sure what that means because as up to this point, the only relationship Fitz has had with A is A trying to expose their relationship or save their relationship. And I don't really want to lock in Jenna, even though I can't understand a reason that she would know about the key and the footage if it wasn't hers, except maybe she is being blackmailed by A and A is like forcing her to try to find this key. And she doesn't actually know what the key goes to. She just knows it's like a thing of like, hey, find this key or I'll tell everybody the truth about you and your stepbrother. But at that point, A already knows everything and is able to sneak into anything and everything. So why doesn't A just get the key themselves? Why does A need Jenna to get the key? And then there's Ian. Was he or was he not in a relationship with Allison? Was he or was he not in Hilton Head with Allison? He's having a baby. He's having a baby. And so the issue is I don't know who to lock in. I went from having like a ton of suspects to now I don't know if any of these people did it. We haven't seen this detective in a while, so it's not him probably. I guess I have to lock in Jenna because the only thing that I have going for me right now is that Jenna knew about that key. Now, does that mean that Jenna is the person who killed Allison? Does that mean that Jenna is A, or is Jenna A and the person who killed Allison? I don't know. But I'm going to lock in Jenna mostly because I have any other options and this could be the big reveal next episode. So maybe that's why it seems a little obvious because I was like, she's just a big red herring. But like, I mean, if next episode's the reveal and we don't have any other clues towards any other characters, I mean, unless I'm missing something, but come on, be real. Yeah, that's who I'm locking in. I'm locking in Jenna for season 1, episode 21 of Pretty Little Liars.
Holy crap.
Oh my God, dude. This show is nuts, dude. I mean, this show is just fucking crazy. What a finale. Let me start off by saying that we do get the answer to one of our big mysteries. However, we do not get the answer to the mystery that we are trying to solve. We do not find out who A is, which means that we are going to keep going to season 2. And that's okay because I love this show. We find out in the finale that whoever has been watching and recording the girls for all of these years have also been watching and recording Jenna. And they caught on video the whole situation of Jenna forcing her stepbrother Toby and like being like, hey, you're going to stay with me or else I'm going to tell everybody this was on you, big dog. So that explains why Jenna needs that footage, right? Because she can't have that getting out because it will expose her for the monster that she is. Speaking of footage, we get a flashback scene where we see Allison visiting Jenna in the hospital, and we get a lot of answers of what's going on. The reason that Jenna knows about this footage is because Allison has it and shows it to her. And she explains that she has this footage because the guy I likes to film all the neighborhood girls. And she says something like, I thought he was just making movies of me, but it turns out he likes making movies of all the girls in the neighborhood. So, that's weird. Then Allison gives Jenna kind of an ultimatum. She says, hey, you are not going to say anything about me blinding you, and in return, I won't expose you for what you've done. And then also Allison in this flashback says that she's on her way home from Georgia. I don't know what that really means. I thought maybe, because I thought she was in Hilton Head, but maybe this is a separate time period. Now, the girls are pretty sure that the person that they are looking for now is Ian. They think that Ian was the one who was sneaking around everybody's window and filming them. And then Allison somehow got a hold of the footage, so he had to kill her to get the footage back. And so, in order to test their theory, they set a trap for him. They text Ian a random number and they say, hey, we have the footage. We want money. This is the drop-off location. Because they're trying to make it seem like it's not them. So they're trying to make it seem like it's someone else who only needs this information for like blackmail. They're just trying to get money from it. So then at the end of the episode, and this gets pretty crazy, by the way, so buckle up. Melissa calls Spencer because she needs a ride home from church because Ian didn't come to pick her up. So Spencer goes and picks up her sister Melissa at the church. They're headed back and they get T-boned by a car. They go to the hospital because it's a pretty rough accident. Spencer's fine. Melissa's in trouble, but they're trying to figure out, is the baby okay? Is Melissa okay? It seems like she's all right, but Melissa left her phone at the church. So Spencer goes back to the church to get it. And Ian is waiting for her at the church. Now, this is crazy because the other three girls, excluding Spencer, are at the drop-off location with the cop guy, their friend Garrett, and they're waiting to, catch Ian making the money drop off. But get this, Ian's not there dropping off the money. He sent someone else to do it. So that's a big issue. So Ian's at the church with Spencer, and he is psychopathic. He's trying to kill Spencer. He's chasing her all over the church. They go all the way up to like the top of a bell tower on some Hunchback of Notre Dame shit. And so he's grabbing Spencer and he's trying to throw her off the bell tower because he's going to make it look like she killed herself. And he tells her that he already wrote her a suicide note and it's on her computer at home. And then we get a moment where I'm pretty sure he admits to killing Allison. Because I'm pretty sure because it's a little vague because he's talking about what he put in Spencer's suicide note to take the blame for killing Allison. Essentially, we pushed her and she just hit her head and never woke up. And then Spencer's like, but she died from suffocation. So I don't know what that means. It really seems like Ian killed her though. But anyway, he's trying to push Spencer off this bell tower. Right before he's about to do it, this person in a black hoodie runs up, grabs Ian, tosses him over the bell tower, saving Spencer's life and killing Ian. And the person in the black hoodie disappears just as quickly as they showed up. Where were they? Where did they go? Where did they come from? And Spencer is just freaking out, dude. This is gotta be top 10 worst moments of her life. And there's been a lot of them. And then the other girls show up and they're trying to console her because at one point she called the girls and had Ian on speaker as he was doing his big evil villain monologue before trying to push her off the bell tower. And so they're like, we got to get to the church. So they get there. It's a little too late, but that's okay because thankfully the person in the black hoodie killed Ian and saved Spencer. And, the girls are consoling Spencer and we look down and we see Ian's body hanging from these loose ropes in the bell tower. So he's dead. But get this, guys, this is where this show, you think you know what's going on and then they just yank the rug out from under you. Because when the police show up, Ian's body is gone. So since Ian's body is not there, they think that the girls are just making this up for attention because that's been the big theme, right? Everyone thinks that the girls are guilty or just wanting attention. Maybe they killed Allison for the attention. Then, to top it all off, the girls are like walking away from the church and they get a message from A. And the message says, "It's not over till I say it is. Sleep tight, bitches, A." So what does this all mean? Let's break this down. We don't know who A is, but we think Ian might have killed Allison. I also want to bring up Melissa, right? She's in the hospital because of the car accident, but she just so happens to leave her phone. I mean, Melissa was already doing all of this crazy stuff just to try to like cover for Ian, like telling everyone that she was the one that was in Hilton Head with him. And at one point when Ian and Spencer are fighting in the bell tower, Spencer says, "If you really love my sister, you won't do this." And he says, "I'm doing this because I love your sister." So my thought process is Ian trying to protect Melissa? Do you think maybe Melissa showed up that night when Allison and Ian were together in a fit of rage? She kills Allison accidentally. So now Ian is doing everything he can to try to protect Melissa. And maybe Melissa's the kind of person that, you know, if she thought Spencer was going to expose the truth, which is, and maybe Melissa's the type of person that was like, "Hey, let's frame my sister, Spencer." And when Spencer was working really hard to expose the truth, which wouldn't have been good for them, Melissa was like, "Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Kill my sister." And add on the fact that Ian definitely was the person who was recording everybody, which, what a freak. And I wish I had like more answers, and I'm sure that we will get more answers soon, especially like at the beginning of season 2, because right now there's just like a lot of things up in the air. Like the main one being the Ian being the video camera guy. They seem to really say that he's the one that was filming everybody. However, we didn't get like direct confirmation. I would really like one of the characters to be like, "Oh, it was definitely Ian, 100%. And when it comes to who is A, because at this point I'm assuming if Ian is the one that killed Allison, then he is not A, even though he's the one that was filming everyone and stalking everyone, which would make him the best candidate to be A, but he can't be A, right? Because we got a message from A after Ian was dead, although his body was gone, so maybe he's still alive. And add on the fact, dude, Lucas, the yearbook guy, is back. He's been AWOL for a while, and that's why I was like, you know, like last segment of the video, I say something like, "Hey, I wanted to block him, but he hasn't been here in a while." And he does quite a bit to actually help in this episode, though, so that does throw a wrench in my he could be A situation. So basically, like, there's been a whole kind of plot line where Hannah and Caleb, you know, they broke up. Well, Caleb tried to get a letter explaining that he loves her and that he's sorry to her, but Mona, who is, you know, like Hannah's bestie, is trying to protect Hannah because Mona doesn't like Caleb. She thinks he's bad news. So when he shows up to give Hannah the letter, Hannah hides and is like, "Don't tell him I'm here." And so he gives the letter to Mona, and Mona just throws the letter away because she's like, "You're not good enough for my best friend." And then like Caleb kept calling, and then like Mona would pick up Hannah's phone and be like, "She doesn't want to talk to you," and hang up. So it was just like a big thing. Well, Lucas decides to take matters into his own hands, and he goes and picks up Caleb and brings him back to town so that him and Hannah can be together. So I know what you're thinking. If he's doing this because he wants Hannah to be happy and to be with Caleb, why would he be A? Well, if he is A, maybe he's not doing it for Hannah's happiness. Maybe he's doing it because he needs them together so that he can continue to manipulate them. Kind of like, why would A save Ezra and Arya from getting exposed by Noel Khan? Because A wants to be the one that does it. Which leads me to the person in the black hoodie who pushed Ian off the bell tower and I'm pretty sure killed him. I think that was A. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that A is above killing one of the girls. In fact, Hannah got hit by a car. I just don't think that A wants someone else to kill the girls or one of the girls. So A killed Ian so that A could be the one to kill the girls. Or maybe it's just about A's game, right? A wants to keep playing their game. And if Ian is about to kill Spencer, then that's one less player in A's game. So A has to jump in and save Spencer. Then Ian's body disappears. And I think that's because A took the body. Because the last thing that A needs is another murder investigation going on. But when it comes to Lucas being A, Lucas is in the car with Caleb when A kills Ian. So how could it have been him? And to add all of this together, we were pretty sure that whoever had been stalking and watching and videoing the girls for all of these years was going to be A, but we find out that it's Ian who was videoing the girls. So he can't be A, I don't think. So I guess what the show is saying is multiple people had been stalking and following the girls for years and years. Ian in a creepy, perverted way, and A in a very sinister way. And then there's the whole car accident thing. Spencer and Melissa are leaving the church and get T-boned by a car. Was that A? Was that a part of the plan, or is that just a coincidence? And don't even get me started on Ezra Fitz. He's a real sweetheart, but he's dating a 16-year-old, so there's got to be something going on with him, right? My theory is maybe, he was also involved with Allison at one point, and so he killed her. I have no evidence to back that up. Arya's little brother is completely AWOL in this episode. We don't see him at all, so I'm assuming he doesn't have anything to do with it. There's Mona. We've talked about Mona before, but she only shows up like every couple episodes, and kind of just seems like her main story right now is just like this beef with Caleb and Hannah. It's just like a romance plot. And that's what's so fun about this show. I really love this show, and what makes the mystery so fun is because we're juggling all of these different characters and all of these different clues and all of these different plot lines. What is in relation to the death of Allison? What is in relation to who is A? What is just a romantic subplot that has nothing to do with the mysteries? Which leads me to what I think could be my best bet for locking in who I think A is for the season finale. I mentioned that I don't think that Lucas could be A because he was in the car when A killed Ian in the bell tower. Now here is what I'm trying to explain. What if it wasn't A who pushed Ian? What if it wasn't A who saved Spencer? What if that was somebody else? We don't know who was in that black hoodie. It could have been anyone, and it's just the show making us think that it was A. But if that was not A, then that frees up Caleb to be A. He was bullied horrendously by Allison. He's on the yearbook, so he's always running around events with a camera. He says he has a trusting face that people want to believe. He doesn't have any friends, so what is he doing with all his free time? He disappears for episodes and episodes and episodes on end. And quite honestly, I just think he would be a perfect A. So I am locking in Lucas, the yearbook guy, for who I think A is for the season 1 finale of Pretty Little Liars. Hey guys, I've been editing the Pretty Little Liars video, and I just got done editing season 1, which is what you just watched. And I originally was just going to do one huge video where from beginning to the reveal, but it's already, I mean, you know how long this video has been. It's like almost 3 hours. So I decided I'm probably going to split this up into 2 parts. So what you just watched was season 1 of Pretty Little Liars, Can I Solve A Before the Reveal? If you want to see part 2, which is where we'll get to the reveal and we'll find out if I got it or not, just subscribe and comment down below so this video does well. And then part 2 will be out very shortly. I don't mean tomorrow, but it's sooner rather than later.